Good morning. I'm Amanda Hansen here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk. It is Friday. I'm geared up for the weekend. I'm excited about it. Let's take a live look right now. This is our High 5 camera here in Midtown Memphis. Some of y'all waking up to a little rain this morning. Big story, though, as you head out to work, wherever that may be. Patchy fog. It might be something you might run into, so give yourself a little extra time as you get out and about this morning. How does the weekend look? You got plans? Let's go ahead and check in with Sigay Galindo. She's going to break it all down for you.
Happy Friday. I'm First Alert meteorologist Sigay Galindo. Tracked some rain and storms last night, all thanks to a cold front. That front is now off to our east, and we're tracking yet another one that will move in this weekend. But no severe weather expected with the front that's going to move through on Saturday, but it could give us some showers at times. Right now, we are not seeing anything in the way of rain, but we are tracking some fog this morning. Fog should lift out right around 9 to 10 o'clock, and there could be a stray shower or two as we go into the afternoon, but I think most will stay dry. Mainly clouds more than anything. By 11 o'clock, cloudy skies and showers approaching from the west thanks to that cold front that's going to slide in by Saturday. Rain chances go up a bit for your Saturday, right around 40%. By Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be tracking just some dry weather. Mostly cloudy for today. As I mentioned, a stray shower. 71 degrees for a high temperature. And while we are seeing clouds now, I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine as we head toward the latter part of the afternoon. Tonight, we drop down to 55 degrees. There could be a couple of showers late, but only about a 30% chance. Winds will be light out of the northeast. Here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. I know there are a lot of outdoor plans, but you'll want to have that plan B in place because we are looking at times where we could see some wet weather in the morning hours, and I think there could be around in the afternoon. It's all thanks to that front. Let me show you how things play out on our First Alert Futurecast. Right around midnight, cloudy skies, but as we put things into motion, notice showers starting to form in the portions of northeast Arkansas. Seeing some showers from Harrisburg to Marianna, and also a couple of showers in West Tennessee. As we make our way into the afternoon, those showers still west of the Mississippi River, but as we head around 2 o'clock, we start to see those tracking east of the river. Could be in the form of a few embedded thunderstorms, which some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. So right around 2 o'clock could be dealing with some heavy rain in Memphis and in Shelby County. Olive Branch could be seeing some of that, as well as on down toward Batesville and Oxford. But the good thing is this system is going to move out fairly quickly. By 4, it presses a little bit more toward the east. Now seeing showers from Bolivar to Holly Springs to Ripley, and then moving out as we head toward the evening hours. Clouds will linger for a time, but I think we'll pick up a good bit of sunshine late in the day on Sunday. Here's a look at how much rain we're expecting. We're looking at anywhere from about just less than a half of an inch to over a half of an inch, just a little bit over, but less than 3/4 of an inch for most areas. As we check out your 7-day forecast, you can see that rain chance on Saturday, but after that, here comes that nice dry stretch of weather. That cold front is going to drop temperatures into the upper 60s, but back in the 70s by Tuesday.
So I want to get to a developing story this morning. We are working to learn who Memphis police arrested in connection to a series of abductions and rapes in South Memphis. This has been going on for weeks now. So many people in those communities concerned, and on high alert. One of those alleged abductions happened April 13th near Hamilton K-8 and Hamilton High School. Parents alerted that a man matching the description of the suspect was spotted driving near these schools, attempting to abduct young girls.
Any kind of a rape is treated seriously. A rape of a child, even more so, and a serial rapist, also even more so. So, in all such situations, it would normally be our office's policy to prosecute it vigorously, but beyond making general statements, I can't say anything about this specific case right now.
At the time, MPD could not say if both were connected. Memphis police have also not released the number of reported victims. So check this out right here. This is a look at 2 temporary schools for students in the Covington area following that EF3 tornado that tore through last month, causing so much damage. As Governor Lee gets a look at some more of that damage today, the city of Covington posted this video right here that you're looking at to Facebook to show the progress of the buildings. Really, it's come a long way. Students who attended Crestview Elementary and Crestview Middle School have not been back to school since the storms back on March 31st. Crews are working on the buildings in Bolzer Field. So pretty impressive, really, what they've been able to do so far. A lot of work. And of course, those students not in school since end of March. Okay, no word on what was inside a suspicious package, which had traffic backed up in Olive Branch. You may have been caught up in some of that traffic while police were looking into this. Roadways in both South Haven and Olive Branch were shut down for hours Thursday after South Haven police say that they found a suspicious package. So this happened in the area of Goodman Road and Snowden Lane. Police say the FBI and Shelby County Bomb Squad helped out to be able to secure that area. Well, our national organization's choosing Memphis to host their conventions. Well, Memphis tourism leaders say, yep, they are. Thursday afternoon, city leaders held their annual tourism meeting. Numbers show a pre-pandemic rebound of tourists in the Bluff City, and landing big conventions could help those numbers go up even more. Memphis Tourism debuted their latest campaign to attract more conventions to the Mid-South. According to tourism leaders, the convention center is almost completely booked for the year. Pretty good stuff. Take a listen.
2022, it was the busiest in the history of our convention center. The Renaissance Convention Center this year in 2023, believe it or not, only has 40 dark days out of 365. So for 320 days in 2023, there is something going on at our downtown Renaissance Convention Center.
Memphis is also seeing an increase in international visitors. Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia leading the way. Australia, that's a really long way to go. So even the Memphis Showboats, even though they're so far 0-2 in regular season play, the team is still hungry. They want to get that win and, of course, make Memphis proud. With experienced coaches on the team, a win is definitely feasible. So we got to catch up with the defensive coordinator about what it's going to take to be able to bring home that victory and land that victory for the Showboats.
Well, obviously, we'd like a win. We're still searching for our first win. We are working very hard to try to get that win, and we're facing some stiff challenges right now, and we got to find a way.
For defensive coordinator Carnell Lake, football has always been a focal point of his life. After a long, successful NFL career as both a player and coach, he's now searching for a win with the Memphis Showboats.
Right now, my only focus is to make sure that the defense can play as best as they can.
Coach Lake, a former Pro Bowl defensive back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, described his coaching style as teacherly.
Giving them a big picture to start and then telling them what their individual assignments are and how they fit in. Everybody has an assignment. We have to make sure that each and every player does their assignment and does it well. Most defenses that are successful all have a defense that works cohesively, and that's what we're trying to strive for.
While Coach Lake is most notable for his NFL career, leading the Showboats to their first W of the season is top of mind.
I would be doing a disservice to the guys in Memphis, to the players in Memphis right now if I'm thinking about the next opportunity. Right now, my only focus is to make sure that the defense can play as best as they can.
In Memphis, Taylor Tucker, Action News 5.
All right, well, the Showboats will face their podmate, the Houston Gamblers, Saturday night at 6 o'clock at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Fingers crossed they're able to get this win, and it should be a nice night for the game. So if you're going out there, it should be a good one. But how about them Grizzlies? You know, they pulled out that big win the other night, and now it's another do-or-die game for the Grizzlies. They are in L.A. this morning ahead of Game 6 against the Lakers. The series now standing at 3-2. But tonight, we're going to find out what they're really made of, because if they want to keep this season alive, they're going to have to pull out a win on the West Coast.
Yeah, we got to come with the right, edge and the right road mentality. But, I said it out there and I'll say it again. We're going to be back for a Game 7 in front of the best fans in the NBA.
And we're confident. We're confident. We know what we got in this locker room. And again, we know we haven't played our, up to our standards or anywhere close to our best ball throughout this series yet. So we're confident moving forward, and we're just taking it one game at a time.
All guys on the same page, connected, focused on one thing only is, getting this win in LA.
Getting that win. Well, 9 p.m. tip-off tonight, going to be a late one. Our guy Doc Holliday is en route to L.A. He'll have live pregame reports for you, bring you all the latest. And Yeah, hopefully they can pull out that win tonight. We were able to catch up. Before I get to that, I don't want to forget, we have this watch party. You know, they have them over at Fourth Plus Park in downtown Memphis. So many people come out. It's fun. It's nice to be in that atmosphere as you're watching the game. The game starts at 9:30 tonight, our time. So that party is going to start at 6 p.m. It's going to start early so you can kind of hang out, celebrate, get geared up for the big game tonight. And we were able to catch up with Eric Hasseltine yesterday. He, as you may know, he is with the Grizzly Radio Network. Broke down the game the other day, Game 5, and now what really needs to happen in order to bring home this win in Game 6. Take a look at this interview with Andrew Douglas.
Okay, Grizz Nation, you know who you are, you know where you are. How about last night's game? Was that awesome or what? It was such a great win for so many of us. Do or die situation. The Grizzlies are kept alive in the playoffs this year after that win, and looking ahead to tomorrow night's matchup out west against the Lakers in Game 6. Joining us now is the man in the know. And he's driving the scene. He's driving the scene on the radio. He's driving the scene right now. We caught up with him. He's always busy. Eric Hasseltine, radio voice of the Grizzlies, joining us on the digital desk. Eric, give me your thoughts on the game last night.
Oh, it was fun. It was another night where the Grizzlies got a good start. The team that's won the first quarter in all 5 of the games has won the game, and they jumped out to that big lead. They made 4 of 8 3-point shots. So, look, when they move the ball and they knock down their outside shots, good things happen. Now, the second quarter wasn't as good. I thought they settled for a few more threes. They were 4 of 16 in that quarter. The Lakers came out, scored the first 8 in the third. But the one thing about this group has always been their resiliency. They bounce back. They have a big run spanning from the third into the fourth and build a big lead, and that place was rocking. Andrew, you've been in there all through the season, and it's just a different atmosphere in playoff basketball, and you give yourself a chance. I mean, they felt like they could have won Game 4. They did not put their best foot forward in Game 3, so they're going to head to L.A. today, and we'll hop on a plane here shortly and then head on over and try to get Game 6 and come back for what would be an amazing environment for Game 7. But as we said last night, you've got to focus on the 48 minutes at hand and not worry about Game 7, because if you don't take care of Game 6, you won't be there.
No question about it. You know, I have to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, but something I saw last night right off the get-go was a little bit different in this series. I saw a more aggressive Desmond Bane. I saw an old Ja that was aggressive to the hoop. Was that a new strategy? Was that something that they have always been trying to do? I felt like there was more aggressiveness last night that I hadn't seen in this series so far. Let me get your take on that.
Well, I thought in Game 4, Des kind of broke out of his shell. He had 36 points. And so when you look at what he's capable of doing and getting him involved early, that is always part of the game plan. The Lakers have had some really good defensive schemes, but as is in the playoffs, when you play the same team multiple times, you can adjust and find ways to get your guys going. And so that's kind of what happened there. And I thought Jaren also in the second half got going. So you got 18 from Jaren, you got over 30 from Ja and over 30 from Des. I think 33 and 31 for Des and Ja respectfully. And when that happens, this is an awfully tough team to beat. Now, they did miss Luke Kennard down the stretch, who had some ice on his shoulder, but seems to be okay. And, you know, they didn't get huge performances from other guys, but solid. I thought Xavier Tillman in the second half made some big plays, and plays like he made in Game 2 when they won, where if you just leave him, he's got to attack the rim, and that'll open things up. So Des had it going early. Ja got it going in the second half, and it's always been like that with this team. It's one guy going for stretches where he'll really get cooking and score 12 or 16 points, and then the defense goes, uh-oh, we got to stop that guy, and then someone else gets it going, and then, uh-oh, we got to stop that guy. Then you have another option, and that's what makes this team successful, is they have multiple guys that can score big bunches of points in short amounts of time, and then you've got to alter your defensive game plan, and then we'll just shift another direction and have somebody else score big bunches of points when it's going well. Again, they made shots. In Game 4, they were well below 30% from 3, and in Game 5, they were at 35%, and really, I thought, shot much better than that number indicated. Just thought they got a little 3 happy in that second quarter, but other than that, they were terrific. So you got to find that strategy on the road. You got to find that philosophy on the road. You got to find that success on the road if you want to see a Game 7 for sure.
I love how you're spitting out the stats right now, just like off the top of your head. That's why, if you haven't heard Eric on the radio doing a Grizzlies game, you got to tune in because it's fantastic. Let me go back to what you said about Luke Kennard, Eric. Can you talk about what that injury was? I understand it was during a screen, and was it on the left shoulder, right shoulder, and how bad was it?
I think it was sore enough where they opted to keep him out. They'll examine it again today. I don't ever like to talk about injuries because where you can see that I remember numbers and my mind just works differently that way. Our medical team's minds work in a much more productive way where they know injuries and they know how to treat guys with them. We've got a very good staff there. They do a terrific job, and so I think they'll examine it again today. I didn't really see what happened. I did see Luke go to the back, and when you go to the back and come out with an ice pack on, you're done for the night for the most part, and that's a precautionary thing. Luke's tough. He wants to be out there. His presence out there changes what teams can do defensively, because if you have Luke and Desmond Bane out there at the same time, you have two of the top 10 shooters in the NBA. I mean, I fully believe that. Percentages aside, when these guys are open, when it leaves their hands, you think it's going in. And there's only a handful of shooters in the league that you really believe that if we leave them, they can really hurt us. In 3 possessions, they can flip the script of a game. And Luke's a guy like that, and that's why they went and got him. So they're hoping that he'll be just fine for tomorrow night. They need him. They need him to be productive off that bench, because the other guys, as Elliot Perry will call them on our broadcast, are the second units. When you win that battle, that is a big battle to win, especially in the playoffs, because it takes pressure off of your starters. So Santi Aldama hit some big buckets last night. Tyus Jones, as we know, is such a steady hand that these guys, when they play together as a team, it's really something special to watch. So hopefully he'll be okay, and it's been a welcome addition, and certainly fits right in, and he's getting more and more comfortable each time out. It took him a couple of games to understand that Taylor Jenkins gets more upset when you don't shoot than when you shoot and maybe it's not the best shot. He would rather you take an opportunity, and even if it's not the best, learn from that opportunity than pass on opportunities, and that's what Luke Kennard's game is all about.
Dillon Brooks, 2 for 10 from three-point range. What is going on here? Is this just kind of a meltdown? I mean, maybe meltdown's too strong. I don't want to pile on here, but how do we win Game 6 without putting ourselves in a position to let the game slip away from us like it did Monday night?
Well, he's not shooting the ball well. He knows that. If anybody knows that, it's Dillon, and he's gone through slumps in his career. And then I've seen him have nights where they leave him open the way the Lakers have, and he'll burn a team. So you're hoping that side does come out. You have to almost shoot those shots. If you don't, you're playing into the hands of the defense if you're passive. I do think Dillon scores better when it comes in the flow of the offense. And a lot of those shots I thought last night were not forced opportunities. They were opportunities get his and basically help out, on defensive side of things when he's in a good rhythm. So again, Dillon's giving everything he's had. Obviously, there's been all the talk off the court, and so now he's just kind of had this target on his back. And when you don't perform well with that target on your back, everything gets magnified. I don't feel like you're piling on. Everybody's kind of saying the same thing. But I know one thing, that guy on the defensive end of the floor really helps you. And if he gets into that mid-range game and sees a couple go down, it wouldn't surprise me if he has a game where things turn around in a hurry. That's who he is. If I know Dillon Brooks, when we get to Los Angeles today, since there's nothing going on that I know of in the Crypto.com center, or if they can get over to a gym nearby, he's going to grab one of the assistant coaches that works with him, and he will say, hey, I need to go get some shots up and figure out why my shot's not going, because he does care about his craft. And I know a lot of people think it's this image and fashion and the things he does in his press conferences, and yeah, that's all part of it. But at the base of it all is Dillon Brooks wants to be a great basketball player. And I'll take that over guys that don't seemingly truly care. Dillon does. And I know sometimes it may manifest itself in ways people don't quite understand. But that guy will go out and give you everything he has. And so I think you got to have him out there, because his defensive physicality matters against a team with the size of the Lakers. And I think it's just getting him to either feel more comfortable and more confident in his shot, or maybe get into the rhythm a little bit later down the road in the game. It's a fine line, because you want a player to be aggressive, but you also have guys that are playing really well right now. And if that's a better option, sometimes you just have to accept that right now I don't have it and move on to that. And I think Dylan's smart enough to know that.
Okay, you're drawing up the game plan for Game 6 tomorrow night, tip-off 9:30 Memphis time. What's the game plan to win Game 6 so we can force a Game 7?
Have at least one more point on the scoreboard at the end than they do. Is that a fair one? Is that the case? I'm just teasing you. I think you got to move the basketball. I think they did a great job on the glass last night. They won the offensive rebounding battle, gave themselves second chance opportunities. They've won the turnover battle, I think, multiple times. They do a good job taking care of the ball. You can't give the Lakers transition opportunities where LeBron James gets out on the run and has some dunk that, reminds people of LeBron James 10 years ago, where he was dunking over people. It's not quite the same, but if he gets going, and even if it's just a breakaway right-hand dunk and he gives a look, the place will go crazy. And that's the kind of magnitude he has. So try to keep that energy at a minimum when you're on the road, and try to keep the fans in their seats and not out of them cheering by making good basketball decisions. I think one of the key things they did last night, and there were a couple times they didn't, but in Game 4, I thought they missed some opportunities where they had fast breaks and settled for either threes or made an extra pass, trying to make a highlight reel alley-oop play rather than just go get the 2 points. Every opportunity you get matters in an elimination game. So if you have a 3-on-1, forget about the alley-oop. If the ball is in your hands and they give you a lane to the basket, take it. If they block the shot, you got two guys there. Don't flare to the wing. Try to hit a home run three that seems like it's a knockout punch in the third quarter. Take the 2 points. Go for the shot that you're going to make 90% of the time rather than one you're going to make 50% of the time, because in the end, that will pay off. So I think they did a much better job of that last night. They've got to find that same rhythm on the road. They've struggled on the road this year. Just get out there and try to push the tempo. It's no secret that the Lakers are a much older team than the Grizzlies. And last night at times, the Grizzlies looked much more athletic. Use that athleticism to your advantage. And I think continue to just be on a string defensively. Anthony Davis is going to make some tough shots. He had 31 and 19 last night. And you still won the ball game. You were winning the ball game because you got the Lakers to settle for threes from guys you wanted them to shoot. Although I don't think LeBron James goes 1 of 9 from 3 tomorrow night, I still would take LeBron James shooting from 27 feet than LeBron James driving to the basket using that size and either creating contact or finishing at the rim. Get guys out of rhythm. Austin Reeves has hurt you. Rui Hachimura did not hurt you last night the way he has in other games. Don't let those guys come in and forget about them and let them have big nights with wide open shots, which then opens up the door for everybody else on the Lakers, including LeBron and AD. So make it as difficult as you can. And then just like I said, push the tempo, move the basketball, and see a couple of threes go down early, and don't settle for them. Use them in the flow of the offense as best you can.
Is there any surprise that you would like to tell the viewers to watch out for? We kind of know, the players. We've known this is Game 6, so we kind of know the back and forth. Is there something, I guess some people would call it an X factor to look out for? We only got about a minute left. What's the X factor?
I would say Tyus Jones. I think he's yet to really have a scoring game where he can get good looks. And part of that is because without Steven Adams, there's not the high ball screen or even a rolling Brandon Clark who's so athletic. It's changed Tyus' complexion on the offensive end. But if Tyus stays aggressive and gets into double figures tomorrow night, that is a really, really good sign for the Grizzlies, as long as Ja Morant is getting his as well. So I would look for that to be the X factor. Santi Aldama gave you some nice minutes last night. Or even Xavier Tillman. If any of those three guys have, 15 or more, good things are going to happen for the Grizz.
Awesome. Eric Hasseltine, radio voice of the Memphis Grizzlies. What an exciting game last night. We appreciate it. Have a safe trip out to the West. Bring home a victory for us so we can hang out and watch Game 7, all right?
I will look forward to it. My apologies for being late, but you did help me today, Andrew, because now you've delayed my workout by 15 minutes, and so I'm just going to cut that 15 minutes off of it and save my knees for a couple more days.
Hey, I'm here for you, bro. Awesome stuff, dude. Thanks a lot. Okay, let's talk about April being Second Chance Month. And in the U.S., 2 out of 3 people who have been to prison are arrested again, and 50% of them end up back in prison. Let's talk to Brandeis Leverett. He is a program manager for Persevere. It's based out of Tennessee. Brandeis, first tell me what is Persevere, and tell me what some of the things that you encounter each and every day there. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? Yes, Persevere is a national nonprofit. We actually operate out of 6 states, and we're looking to move into more states, but our biggest footprint is right here in Tennessee. So yes, we work with individuals who we like to call have been justice impacted or justice involved. And yes, we will teach coding and software development. Our participants have an opportunity within 6 months to a year to become certified full stack web developers. All of our programs are absolutely free. They come along with the equipment that's necessary. We offer wraparound services. We have support for transportation. Here in West Tennessee, we actually have transitional housing. So for individuals who we begin working with within the prison walls, once they're on a process of release, we have options and opportunities to continue to serve and help them make a better life for themselves, developing those skills to code.
That's fantastic. I understand you guys have only been around just a few short years since 2019. You're already in 6 states. I mean, it's growing pretty substantially at a really fast pace. I remember we talked to Stacy last time around. Tell me how you got involved.
Yeah, so yes, we're in 6 states, and since 2019, we've served about 800 participants. And then for me personally, I have a history and a career in education. And I tell people all the time, I was impacted on the other side of the wall. My father spent time in prison, and I watched the process of him being released and the struggle that he had to find gainful employment. So when this opportunity came, it was a no-brainer for me to jump on board the Persevere team. And I've really enjoyed the work that we do here.
You mentioned West Tennessee. It is significant in terms of where you are and helping people and how popular this program is. Can you just tell me a little more details of some of the outreach that you're doing in the West Tennessee, Memphis area?
Yeah, here in West Tennessee, again, we have our 2 programs. One is called Tech Alliance, and another one is called Families First. Tech Alliance actually serves the entire state. And then our Families First program, which is supported by the Department of Human Services, serves West Tennessee and all of its counties here in West Tennessee. And that program in particular not only works with adults, but it also works with students. It also works with young people between the ages of 9 and 18. Again, those services are provided for free. We offer career readiness, life skills support, and we have certified mental health counselors on staff who support the work that we do. And then when it comes to partners, we partner with a ton of organizations here in Shelby County and then across the state. So we got Knowledge Quest and Memphis Athletic Ministries, and we also work with the American Job Center almost hand in hand in some of the work that we do. And workforce development boards throughout the state support the work that we do. And of course, I can't help but to mention the Tennessee Department of Corrections.
So April is Second Chance Month. What do you want people, we have thousands of people that watch us on the digital desk here each and every morning. What do you want people to do with that knowledge that April is Second Chance Month?
Yeah, with April being Second Chance Month, and again, so many individuals are impacted by justice in this manner. I think one of the major things we want to do is we want to kind of beat back the stigmatism that comes along with that. When you get a chance to learn the stories of the individuals that have been justice impacted or justice involved, you can learn that, literally they made a bad choice at one moment in their life. And we believe that that shouldn't be a death sentence. That shouldn't keep them from opportunity after serving time and serving whatever that time that should be, a barrier for the entire of their lives. We don't believe that should be the case. So in doing that, we also want continue to work with different partners. One of the things I didn't mention, but we have what we call technology employment specialists who go out and they work with employers to get employers involved in the process of what we're doing, to commit to say, hey, we're going to take on some of your graduates and participants to give them a chance. So that's ultimately what we would love for individuals to do, is to give individuals who've been just as impacted and just as involved a chance.
This morning we talked about how crime is way up in Memphis and Shelby County this year already. A lot of it's juvenile crime. When you see stats like that, I know that I believe your organization helps juveniles. What happens with your kind of organization when there is an uptick in crime and there's a lot of juvenile crime? Is there any, I know you guys are focused on Second Chance, but is there any other kind of outreach or anything else that you guys deal with when it comes to this big spike in crime we're having, specifically juveniles?
Absolutely. There's a branch in belief in what we do about First Chance, right? To help individuals who have not yet been justice involved, but may be in environments in which that is all too common. So yes, we work with organizations throughout the county and state to offer young people an opportunity to be exposed to coding, to game development. We work with the individuals, a partner of ours is Epic Games. Those are the folks who are responsible for creating games like Fortnite. So we're able to work with them and introduce game development to our young people. Because again, for young people, it's about scratching that interest, beyond just traditional academics and education. And I think one of the biggest things that's really important, again, is that we can work with the entire family, moms, dads, aunts, uncles, and then young people within those families can come together and find a common knowledge and even a common language through coding and game development. So those are things that we do.
Where can people go for more information, Brandeis?
Yeah, so our website is perseverenow.org, or just go to Google and type in Persevere and you will find us. And then this week, in honor of Second Chance Month, we're working with the individuals at Center for Employment Opportunities, and we're going to have a resource fair with tons of employers right here in the city who are going to be at the Lester Community Center on Saturday morning, starting at 10 a.m. And we will have that resource fair there. There are going to be a ton of organizations and employers that are ready to interview and give people a chance.
Okay, Brandeis Leverett with Persevere. We really appreciate your time. Good luck with everything this month, throughout the year, and God bless you guys. You guys are doing some amazing work. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Happy Friday. I'm Versalert meteorologist Sergey Galindo. Tracked some rain and storms last night, all thanks to a cold front. That front is now off to our east, and we're tracking yet another one that will move in this weekend. But no severe weather expected with the front that's going to move through on Saturday, but it could give us some showers at times. Right now, we are not seeing anything in the way of rain, but we are tracking some fog this morning. Fog should lift out right around 9 to 10 o'clock, and there could be a stray shower or two as we go into the afternoon, but I think most will stay dry. Mainly clouds more than anything. By 11 o'clock, cloudy skies and showers approaching from the west thanks to that cold front that's going to slide in by Saturday. Rain chances go up a bit for your Saturday, right around 40%. By Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be tracking just some dry weather. Mostly cloudy for today. As I mentioned, a stray shower. 71 degrees for a high temperature. And while we were seeing clouds now, I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine as we head toward the latter part of the afternoon. Tonight, we drop down to 55 degrees. There could be a couple of showers late, but only about a 30% chance. Winds will be light out of the northeast. Here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. I know there are a lot of outdoor plans, but you'll want to have that plan B in place because we are looking at times where we could see some wet weather in the morning hours, and I think there could be around in the afternoon. It's all thanks to that front. Let me show you how things play out on our First Alert Futurecast. Right around midnight, cloudy skies, but as we put things into motion, notice showers starting to form in the portions of northeast Arkansas. Seeing some showers from Harrisburg to Marianna, and also a couple of showers in West Tennessee. As we make our way into the afternoon, those showers still west of the Mississippi River. But as we head around 2 o'clock, we start to see those tracking east of the river. Could be in the form of a few embedded thunderstorms, which some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. So right around 2 o'clock could be dealing with some heavy rain in Memphis and in Shelby County. Olive Branch could be seeing some of that, as well as on down toward Batesville and Oxford. But the good thing is this system is going to move out fairly quickly. By 4, it presses a little bit more toward the east. Now seeing showers from Bolivar to Holly Springs to Ripley, and then moving out as we head toward the evening hours. Clouds will linger for a time, but I think we'll pick up a good bit of sunshine late in the day on Sunday. Here's a look at how much rain we're expecting. We're looking at anywhere from about just less than a half of an inch to over a half of an inch, just a little bit over, but less than 3/4 of an inch for most areas. As we check out your 7-day forecast, you can see that rain chance on Saturday, but after that, here comes that nice dry stretch of weather. That cold front is going to drop temperatures into the upper 60s, but back in the 70s by Tuesday.
Okay, have you planned everything out for the summer? Because so many people have, and guess what? The numbers are showing that international travel bookings right now are up some 200%, more than 200%. It's a crazy number. People not only want to travel, they want to go international. They want to see the world. Let's bring in Megan Cooper with AAA to talk more about this number. An extraordinary number, but I have to say, Megan, my family and I this past spring break, we went to Costa Rica, and it was fabulous. Our producer Amanda Hansen's got an amazing honeymoon plan internationally. I mean, I can totally get it. People are just ready to go. What are some of the reasons?
So people are more comfortable with traveling. So, we've seen that trend over the last couple of years, but people are ready to go. They're ready to get out and see new places. And, we're seeing that reflected in our travel bookings. So we're up 200% on international travel bookings compared to last year. The biggest increase we've seen is in hotel bookings. That's up over 300% compared to last year. So people are comfortable. They want to get out, and they just want to see the world.
I totally get it. That is so true in the people that I interact with a lot. So let's talk about, I guess, a priority list. What are some of the guidelines, since we probably know, with thousands of people watching us right now, we are either going international or we know a friend that's going international. What are the ways to really kind of set that list, that checklist for everybody?
Right. So one of the first things that you want to do is prioritize your passport. So if you have a trip planned or you're thinking about traveling internationally and you either don't have a passport or your passport is close to expiring, go ahead and get that taken care of as soon as possible. We are seeing a little bit of a longer wait time on some of those passports. In some cases, maybe 7 to 9 weeks. And you need this to travel internationally. So first things first, if you don't have your passport taken care of and secured away, go ahead and do that right now.
Very cool. What about when it comes to packing and, my biggest fear was that, okay, our flight's going to get canceled and we're going to be, up a creek, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right. So unfortunately, lost luggage, delayed flights, those are all things that we have to navigate now and always have when we're traveling. So if you're traveling with other people, with a family, with a spouse, with a friend, when you're packing, maybe try to spread clothing and those items that you think that you're going to need across multiple suitcases. That way you don't have one person that has absolutely nothing while another suitcase might have made it and one person has, everything that they need. When I personally travel, I try to keep everything in a carry-on and try not to check baggage. So if at all possible, if you don't have to check that baggage, maybe try to fit everything into a carry-on. If you are checking that baggage, maybe just go ahead and put some extra identification in there. So maybe take out a big sheet of paper and write your information on it, just in case that luggage tag is lost or something happens. You want a way to get that luggage back to you if it is lost or misplaced.
You are a rarity, Megan. The women in my family, they all have to check luggage. Like I've even mentioned that. Like, hey, why don't we carry on? It'll make it better. They're like, no, what are you, crazy? We have to check luggage. So hats off to you. I'm even more impressed by you with that response.
It's taken years of practice, I will say.
I bet. You know, that's the other fear, though, that the luggage is going to get lost. I mean, is there any way, I mean, obviously, you know, carry on is the best way. Is there any other way to maybe mark your luggage to make sure that it doesn't get lost? Or is there something else that people can do?
Just make sure that you're checking that baggage early. Make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to check it in. Be mindful of how you're planning your flights. So if at all possible, try to book those early morning flights. Those have a less likelihood of being delayed. And then take a look at what destinations you're traveling through. Is it a nonstop flight? Obviously, with a nonstop flight, that's less places that your baggage has to go. So limit those in between destinations. And if at all possible, if you can't avoid those, give yourself plenty of time at those different stops. And sometimes we just can't avoid losing our luggage. Sometimes the inevitable happens, and you're that unlucky person. So that is one instance where travel insurance can really come in handy. And travel insurance does cover some of those costs of delayed flights as well as lost baggage fees.
Help me maneuver travel insurance for a second here, because I know travel insurance is a big question mark for a lot of people when they travel internationally. There's a train of thought that says, well, the travel insurance doesn't cover certain issues that are more likely to happen, so why even get it? And then there's another one that says, no, you need to get travel insurance and get the highest amount, or maybe you should get it for just specific things. Tell me where you stand, where AAA stands when it comes to travel insurance.
So with travel insurance, we always advise for people to purchase this, especially if you're traveling internationally. You're likely spending a lot of money. So we want you to protect that investment. If anything happens, if you get sick, if you can't go on that vacation, if something happens while you're on that vacation, we want you to be able to get that investment back if you at all possibly can. So with travel insurance, there are different options. So depending on what you're booking, how you're traveling, it really can be beneficial. So with those different types of travel insurance, of course, some things are covered, some things are not covered. And I think it ultimately comes down to that personal choice and how comfortable with risk that you are. But just personally, and from AAA, if you're making that investment and traveling, you really want to protect that so you're not losing out on money if something were to happen on that trip. And that's also where a travel advisor comes in very handy, because they can explain to you, what travel insurance would look like for your trip, how much you need, what that would cost. And a lot of times it's really not that expensive to add on that travel insurance policy to your trip.
Good deal. I appreciate you explaining that. Anything else you want to mention that you feel is important for some of the people, some of our viewers, thousands of which join us each and every morning, when they're traveling internationally?
I think the biggest thing this year is planning ahead. We're expecting things to be very busy. I've already heard reports this morning that we're expecting things to get even busier this summer. So if you haven't booked that international travel yet, go ahead and do that as soon as possible, especially if you're traveling this summer. But planning ahead, flexibility is key. If you are in the early planning phases of, planning an international trip, some of those ways that you can save money are being flexible, maybe, traveling in the off season, maybe traveling during the week versus on the weekend. But the biggest thing I think for travelers this year is start to plan early and book that trip early. With the demand and the interest that we've seen so far this year, that's likely to continue throughout the rest of the year. So that sweet spot of getting the trip that you want at the price that you want really is going to come from planning ahead and booking early.
Megan Cooper, who only carries on her luggage on those international flights. Megan, I really appreciate you and all that you do for us here at the Digital Desk, informing our public about the do's and don'ts when it comes to so many different things, including international travel. Thanks very much. Good morning. Today or this week, we are smack dab in the middle of National Infertility Awareness Week. And joining us now to talk more about it is our friend Molly Walker. She is president of the Tennessee Fertility Advocates. And Molly, this is a topic that's near and dear to your heart, and it affects a lot more people than I think the general public realizes, right?
Hey, Andrew, thank you so much for having me on. Yes, it does. It actually affects 1 in 8 couples with infertility, and 1 in 5 women are going to experience, unfortunately, this awful disease that is classified by the CDC as a disease.
So you have been very public about this, and I think most people out there, I mean, I know several couples who have really struggled with infertility, and I know this hits home for you. Briefly tell me about your experience as much as you want, and then your job as president of the Tennessee Fertility Advocates, and what you are hoping this week. What comes out of something like this?
Gladly. I'm happy to share my story. I spent many years, unfortunately, dealing with infertility, and I was embarrassed. I felt a lot of shame, and it was just something that I didn't talk about. And I kind of just got to a point mentally where I was just over that, right? I knew that we had to actually speak up and voice what we're going through, because so many people are actually experiencing the same thing, and there's nothing worse than feeling this alone. So I personally just experienced our 3rd miscarriage, and it has been very difficult, but throughout all of this, and also years of trying to get pregnant, we do have 2 beautiful children, but the road to get there wasn't easy. And I always like to say, the co-founder, Lauren Brown, and I, we just give our pain a purpose. So we started Tennessee Fertility Advocates to help raise awareness for those going through infertility and be a community. This week is it's like the Super Bowl of infertility, honestly, if you could say that. But this week is National Infertility Awareness Week, started by Resolve, which is a nonprofit raising awareness for infertility. And it's a place just to give people the ability to speak up and empower them to change the narrative around this awful disease, and also just empower them to ask their employers, ask their legislators, speak up about the need for infertility coverage, because that can make such a difference in the lives of so many who are going through this awful, awful burden.
I love seeing you and your beautiful family online. God bless you and everything that you're doing to bring awareness out there. Is that the primary goal, Molly, is to get insurance companies to cover the need for infertility during this week? Is that kind of one of the main goals?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one is just to, again, have that community and just raise awareness and advocate for the need for infertility coverage. And so whether that looks like going to HR at your employer, sharing your story, which is a very vulnerable spot to be in. I know, because I've been there. I'm in that season. I get it. But again, it just takes the power of one person speaking up. I believe a recent study said 65% of employers added coverage because their employees came to them and said, hey, I'm struggling with this. Do you provide it? And if not, Progeny, and there's other places, that would add infertility benefits that are absolutely incredible. So just to really give people the ability to speak up. Tomorrow is actual Federal Advocacy Day, so we'll be talking to our state legislators and just Congress speaking up about the need for coverage. We want to see laws in place that mandate infertility coverage. We want this to be something where I look at my precious babies, and I know, Andrew, you have children as well, but if they struggle with this awful, awful disease, at least the financial burden could be lifted.
Agreed, Molly. You mentioned at the top of our interview, 1 in 8 couples struggle with some sort of infertility. And I know that there's a lot of rumors out there or a lot of speculation as to why that is. Has the Tennessee Fertility Advocates really kind of said anything concrete as perhaps the reason why there's so much infertility these days?
You know, that's not one of our biggest focus. So we haven't really dived into the research as to why that is. I know here in Memphis, I see Dr. Amelia Bailey at Fertility Associates of Memphis. And when you walk in, I mean, their lobby is full, Andrew. The amount of people struggling with this disease it's just growing and growing. And, you know, I feel like, unfortunately, it's not something that's going to go away. Thank goodness for science and technology, and just what they are able to do from a research standpoint is truly phenomenal. So hopefully, you know, in the years to come, more advances will be made with infertility, and hopefully more answers will come as to why this is happening. Unfortunately, also, too, it affects 1/3 is female factor, 1/3 is male factor, and 1/3 is unexplained or both. So a lot of people think of it, Andrew, as that female-only disease, but males are affected just as much as females are.
No question about it, Molly. I have some family members that struggle with infertility, so I know exactly the kind of issues that they're dealing with. We have thousands of people watching us on this digital stream, Molly, and I know that there are people out there that want to do something this week. It's an important week, as you mentioned, the Super Bowl of infertility awareness. What's something that maybe the general public, the Mid-South, can do to support your cause?
I would just encourage us. You'll be seeing a lot of posts from Tennessee Fertility Advocates on Instagram, on Facebook. Perhaps share those. Honestly, just sharing it, letting people know that there is a group, there is resources. You could go to resolve.org for a whole bunch of information around each day. There's kind of a specific challenge, if you will, on sharing your story, asking for legislative support, asking for employers to get on board with this. And hopefully my prayer is that years to come that this will be something that is covered, and we won't even know what it's like to have to go through these financial burdens. But just honestly go into tnfertilityadvocates.com, go into our social media page. We will have tons of resources that people can just check out and share, because you just never know who sees it, who might be saying, oh my goodness, I'm going through that too. Like, it's just so great to not be alone. We also just did a video yesterday, and I posted it on tips for talking to your employer about the need for coverage. So go there, share that. I mean, those are some really great resources that we hope will help engage and empower people with this conversation.
Well, you're helping so many right now just having this conversation. We appreciate you and all the team there at Tennessee Fertility Advocates. Thanks again for sharing your story and what this week means to you and the organization, and all the best, not only this week, but throughout the year, Molly. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so each and every month, what we like to do is talk with Google, because a lot of times, you know, we kind of get an inclination of what's happening in the world, what's happening in this country when it comes to the searches that Google gets each and every month, or throughout a given time period, to really kind of understand, you know, what people are talking about, what they're looking up, how they're seeing certain things. And so each month we like to bring in a Google expert. We have Google technical expert Jennifer Jones joining us on the digital desk this morning. And Jennifer, good morning to you. I always like going and looking at kind of the odd trends, the odd news for the month of April as we review different things. And I have to say, nail art. Is there any explanation why nail art was one of the things that people searched in Google this month? How are you?
I'm great, and I'm also quite interested in the huge trend of nail art. It's certainly something that seems to not be new. Last year, there were about 5 billion, with a B, billion global searches on YouTube for nail art. It's quite a trend, and it's something that we're seeing in an increasing popularity across YouTube and across the creator trends.
Yeah, it's something that I'm actually going to have to Google later today, to figure out exactly what the deal is behind all this. But looking at some other searches, I'm seeing, entertainment, the Barbie movie, Coachella, of course, culture. We have Easter and Passover. No surprise there, along with Tax Day. Science, with Earth Day this month. I mean, a lot of things happening in the month of April. Did you see maybe more searches this month than previous months?
Well, it certainly depends on the topic. You hit a few of the entertainment highlights, which are always popular among folks who turn to Google and across the globe. And you're right, Barbie did drive the searches in April. No surprise there. It's a highly anticipated film, which is going to be directed by Greta Gerwig and packed with Hollywood stars. But a huge increase in searching for Barbie. And anything Barbie core or Barbie related this last month.
Right, and it's interesting looking at everything that's happened in the month. I mean, NBA basketball, of course, we're in Memphis. The Grizzlies won last night and so they've made the series with the Lakers 3-2. I see that the NBA scoring record was something people searched, along with the Masters. Of course, that was just a couple of weeks ago, and pickleball. And we know everyone that loves pickleball is the first thing out of their mouth is, well, it's the fastest growing sport in America. I get that, but I guess now people are finally searching it now, huh?
Yeah, you're right. And there's a lot of interest in general about the sport. There are people who are searching with a deeper interest in the sport, who maybe have played for a while, who are searching, what is the best pickleball paddle to use. And then we've seen a large trend of just some basics about the sport, like what is pickleball? How is it played? Can you play it on a tennis court? So it seems that it's all over the map with the level of interest, but I don't think that it's going away.
Yeah, there's no question. The local gym where I go, it's like pickleball courts have taken over some of the basketball courts. Something else when it comes to food, you guys always list kind of food there. National Burrito Day, and I'm assuming that was in April. And our country's fascination with Taco Tuesday and just either Tex-Mex or Mexican food. Not surprised National Burrito Day was at the top of the list. What were people searching for with regards to that?
Yeah, so local burrito spots near me were very popular as far as, utilizing Google Maps and being able to find a spot next to you to get a quick burrito. We saw some top trends with several local chains, but also some national chains when it comes to the delicious treat of a burrito. It's such a versatile and easy to eat dish. Not surprisingly to many, Chipotle was the #1 national researched burrito chain, followed closely by Qdoba, and then Moe's Burritos came in third in our top trends across April for burritos.
What else kind of made your eyebrows go up a little bit looking at the list for April trends? Anything else?
Coachella, of course, we talked about it briefly at the top. It was a hugely popular trend, one of our largest trends. A lot of folks wondering about how many people attend the 2-week festival in California, which is held every April. If you want to know, about 250 people over the 2 weeks of Coachella. And of course, a lot of folks were interested in headliner Frank Ocean, who took the stage on the the first weekend, but then had a bit of a difficult set and wasn't able to return for the second weekend and was replaced by another band. And so a lot of people were searching about news for Frank and news for who was going to replace him.
Okay, interesting. Well, we have our own Beale Street Music Festival coming up in about a week or so. So that's something that we're going to be watching. These are all fascinating. Just kind of see where the country is, the current events, that sort of thing. People are watching. I know that people can see these Google Trends for themselves. Tell us where we can find it.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for me to come on a monthly basis. You can go anytime and see what is trending and what is spiking live at google.com/trends. Check it out and let us know what you think.
Jennifer Jones with Google, we appreciate you breaking down the trends for April. Thanks very much.
Always a pleasure.
Good morning. It's Amanda Hansen here at the Action News 5 digital desk, and we have been talking all month long. It has been it's Donate Life Month, and this week specifically is Pediatric Transplant Week, and so we want to talk more about it, the need here in the Mid-South. And joining us now to talk more about it, we have Tiffany Street. She is a nurse and also heart transplant coordinator with the Heart Failure and Transplant team over at Le Bonheur, alongside Dr. Hugo Martinez, who is the Advanced Cardiac Therapies and Transplant Cardiologist Director for the Heart Institute at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. Both of you, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for hosting.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have y'all on here because my dad at one point was on the transplant list. So this is something that's really near and dear to me to be able to get the word out. I know I'm an organ donor. I have it on my license. And so I guess let's start out by just talking about the need when it comes to children specifically. I know y'all focus on heart transplants. Tiffany, can you talk a little bit about the need here in the Mid-South?
Absolutely. So here at Le Bonheur, our pediatric heart transplant program evaluates referrals for children who have end-stage heart failure or congenital heart disease. And the patients that we serve typically aren't just from Memphis, but also Arkansas, North Mississippi, even the southern ends of Missouri, all of Western Tennessee. So those patients get referred to us from the region. As well as we have an abdominal, kidney, liver program as well. So we're supporting a large area, not just Shelby County.
Absolutely. And how big is that? Is there a number to put on there as far as like how many children are maybe waiting for this life-saving organ?
Absolutely. So if all pediatrics in the United States, there's about 2,029 children from ages infants all the way to 17, waiting on all organs. Specifically for hearts, you're looking at about 483 in the United States. We've had 32 candidates waitlisted since 2020. So, and we've performed about 28 transplants just in the last 3 years, just for our local community.
Oh, wow. Dr. Martinez, I want to talk with you a little bit about your role in all this. Obviously, you're working with a lot of families. Can you talk to me about what that's like, some of the stories that maybe you can share a little bit about?
Absolutely. So we have a center that specializes in advanced cardiac therapies, whether the patients are born with certain diseases that will require transplantation or patients who later in different ages and stages will require advanced cardiac therapies. And for some people, transplantation is the only pathway moving forward. So we're here to deliver the message of generating education and awareness that we require long times waiting for organs. So we would appreciate if our community sign up for organ donation, because that will promote life moving forward, as I mentioned, for many families.
Well, Dr. Martinez, I know you were mentioning wait times. How long is that normally when you talk about something like this when it comes to pediatric patients needing a heart?
It varies by age, but patients within the very first 3 years of life, the wait time can go somewhere around a few to a few months. So on average, we can say 6 to 8 months. And that is talking about the scarcity of organs because we don't have it on the shelf.
Yeah, we had a situation when I worked in Jonesboro, Arkansas. There was a young man that needed a heart transplant, and he actually had a backpack that helped pump his heart for him. And he had to wait a long time to be able to get that transplant, that life-saving transplant that really changed his life. I want to talk with you, Tiffany. Obviously, this is something that is near and dear to you. Talk to me about what it's like for you to be able to be a part of this and helping to facilitate this process.
It's really an honor to be a part of our recipients' journey, from the beginning referral to, hearing their child has a diagnosis, whether that be an infant, a first grader, a teenager. So we become very involved with the family. We become very close, emotional support. It's an honor to walk with them in that journey. It's beyond words when someone's donated that gift and to see these children thrive post-op, and the feedback that's given that's back to the organ procurement organization, which is Mid-South Transplant for our community. They communicate back to the donor family the outcome, and the feedback is phenomenal about how moving that is and how it helps them feel honored and grieve with the loss of their loved one. So it's just therapeutic on both sides, and it's an honor and beautiful to be a part of all of it. So it's great.
I can imagine. Dr. Martinez, I know you were mentioning as far as numbers and wait times and that sort of thing, it varies based on age. Are there any challenges when it comes to just different age, say whether it's a toddler or a teen? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Challenges come in both sides, and those patients and families waiting for organ donation, and those patients and families helping us to donate. And when it comes to organ donation in the pediatric population, size matters. We have to be very careful about accepting organs that are not too big because they're not going to fit in somebody's chest. And we have to be very careful about accepting an organ that is not going to be too small because it's not going to supply the adequate demands for a given patient. So wait times can be lengthy, and that is because we really are focusing on waiting for the right time, for the right moment, and for the right organ donation.
And as we mentioned, it's Pediatric Transplant Week. I want to speak and talk to each of you about what message you really want to leave people with. Dr. Martinez, would you like to start things off?
Absolutely. I think this week is an opportunity for us to promote education, an opportunity for us to, generate awareness. There is no limit to become an organ donor. So I would like to deliver the message to families to talk among themselves and amongst family members to say, if we would like to donate, there's really no limits. So minors can donate, and make sure your wishes are known about this situation.
Tiffany, what would you like to add to that?
I was going to say the same thing. I think just having that roundtable conversation at dinner with your parents, however old they may be, with your children if you're an adult, just to have those conversations. If you're very passionate about it, you can also sign up when you go and get your driver's license at the county clerk's office, when you register to vote or get your new tags. You can go online, you can have the app. So there's plenty of ways to register, but it's, I think, too important to have those conversations with your loved ones.
Well, I appreciate both of y'all taking time this morning to share the message, get it out there about the need here in our area and surrounding areas. Y'all have a great rest of your morning, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. You do the same.
Well, let's take a live look right now. Kind of a gloomy start to the day. If you've gotten out and about, you may have run into some rain. It was a bit foggy out there, and we do have a few chances of some rain as we head into the weekend. So let's go ahead and get that breakdown now from meteorologist Sergey Galindo.
Happy Friday. I'm First Alert meteorologist Sergey Galindo. Tracked some rain and storms last night, all thanks to a cold front. That front is now off to our east, and we're tracking yet another one that will move in this weekend. But no severe weather expected with the front that's going to move through on Saturday, but it could give us some showers at times. Right now, we are not seeing anything in the way of rain, but we are tracking some fog this morning. Fog should lift out right around 9 to 10 o'clock, and there could be a stray shower or two as we go into the afternoon, but I think most will stay dry. Mainly clouds more than anything. By 11 o'clock, cloudy skies and showers approaching from the west thanks to that cold front that's going to slide in by Saturday. Rain chances go up a bit for your Saturday, right around 40%. By Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be tracking just some dry weather. Mostly cloudy for today. As I mentioned, a stray shower. 71 degrees for a high temperature. And while we were seeing clouds now, I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine as we head toward the latter part of the afternoon. Tonight, we drop down to 55 degrees. There could be a couple of showers late, but only about a 30% chance. Winds will be light out of the northeast. Here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. I know there are a lot of outdoor plans, but you'll want to have that plan B in place because we are looking at times where we could see some wet weather in the morning hours, and I think there could be around in the afternoon. It's all thanks to that front. Let me show you how things play out on our First Alert Futurecast. Right around midnight, cloudy skies, but as we put things into motion, notice showers starting to form in the portions of northeast Arkansas, seeing some showers from Harrisburg to Marianna, and also a couple of showers in West Tennessee. As we make our way into the afternoon, those showers still west of the Mississippi River, but as we head around 2 o'clock, we start to see those tracking east of the river. Could be in the form of a few embedded thunderstorms, which some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. So right around 2 o'clock could be dealing with some heavy rain in Memphis and in Shelby County. Olive Branch could be seeing some of that, as well as on down toward Batesville and Oxford. But the good thing is this system is going to move out fairly quickly. By 4, it presses a little bit more toward the east. Now seeing showers from Bolivar to Holly Springs to Ripley, and then moving out as we head toward the evening hours. Clouds will linger for a time, but I think we'll pick up a good bit of sunshine late in the day on Sunday. Here's a look at how much rain we're expecting. We're looking at anywhere from about just less than a half of an inch to over a half of an inch, just a little bit over, but less than 3/4 of an inch for most areas. As we check out your 7-day forecast, you can see that rain chance on Saturday, but after that, here comes that nice dry stretch of weather. That cold front is going to drop temperatures into the upper 60s, but back in the 70s by Tuesday.
Andrew Douglas here in the Action News 5 digital desk. Did you know that more than 16 million Americans are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, known as ADHD? It ranges from children, teens to adults, and right now there is a nationwide shortage of the medications used to treat ADHD. In fact, the FDA announced the shortage back in October, blaming manufacturing delays. But there are researchers and experts that say the shortage is more about an increase in demand. ADHD diagnoses have spiked significantly during the pandemic. Let's bring in someone to talk more about this issue. I'm joined now by Dr. Greg Mattingly, the Associate Clinical Professor of Washington University, physician as well. Good morning, Doctor. Let's talk about, first off, I know what ADHD is, but for our audience and viewers, can you talk a little bit in layman's terms about what ADHD is and how common it has become? Good morning.
Good morning. So ADHD, is probably many of your listeners know, it's a common condition. Matter of fact, it's the most common neurologic condition in all of childhood, not just here in the United States, but all around the world. So here in the United States, but if I went to Canada, if I went to Europe, if I went over to Asia, it's 8 to 10% of kids meet criteria for ADHD. So it's a common condition. And one of the things that we have learned over the last 20 years is for most kids, it's not going to go away. If this is the way you're wired, 80 to 90% of kids are going to have that as they become teenagers, as they go off to university, as they start that first job, and as they become adults. Common symptoms are I get distracted, it's hard to focus, I get bored, and when I get bored, then everything kind of accelerates and I find myself getting frustrated. Maybe I get fidgety and restless. Maybe I blurt things out and I interrupt other people around me. So problems with disorganization, time management, frustration tolerance because of those things for our patients with ADHD.
You know, doctor, I have some family members that have ADHD, and it seems to affect them in different ways. And there is a difference, right? I mean, the symptoms are different for men and women, boys and girls, all across the spectrum.
100%. And that's why the answers are not going to be one size fit all answers either. So some people have ADHD and they have a lot of the hyperactivity when they're kids. Other people, it's a lot of disorganization. It's hard to concentrate. I get overwhelmed by things. I have a lot of anxiety because of that, and I get frustrated. Some of them have a hard time shutting their brain off at night. Falling asleep at night because my brain is still going can be a frustration for some of our patients with ADHD. And then some of our adults with ADHD can be problems around my temper. I get frustrated, I tend to blow. So how do you learn to modulate that as one of your symptoms that's a result of having ADHD?
So you are the president-elect of the American Professional Society of ADHD-related disorders. Can you talk about how ADHD is typically treated these days? I know everyone has the idea of medication, and there's different medications, right?
100%. So if there's good news for your listeners out there is we have a lot of different options. When I was first in practice 30 years ago, our options were just short-acting stimulants, and you had to take them multiple times a day. And a lot of people didn't like the side effects. They didn't like the way they felt when those things kind of kicked in and wore off. And we know those medicines, being short-acting Ritalin or Adderall, they can be misused or abused sometimes by people that are doing the wrong things. A lot of our newer treatment options are once-daily medicines. You take them once a day, and they give you very low levels of medicine, just enough to help to improve your symptoms, but not so much that you're having as many of the unwanted side effects. So we have over 30 different treatment options right now that are approved for children with ADHD. A lot of those are also approved for adults. And we have 4 non-stimulants that are approved for ADHD, 2 of those that are approved for adults, atomoxetine and Qelbree. So it's not even always a stimulant option, and it's certainly not always a short-acting stimulant that you have to take multiple times a day.
Do patients grow out of this? I've always heard that, you know, by the time, if someone in their teenage years, for example, is diagnosed with ADHD, can they grow out of that ADHD by the time they're in their mid to late 20s? How does that work?
Yeah. So one of the myths of ADHD is there's a couple of myths. Boys, not girls. You tend to grow out of it. Only take your medicine when you think you need it. We know those are all not their best outcomes. We know that boys are more common when they're young, but as you become an adult, women are equally common with ADHD. We know that for most people, you're not going to grow out of it. 80 to 90% are going to continue to have some set of symptoms as they go into adulthood. So learning how ADHD affects your life so you can have the most successful life possible, learning where there's a good fit for your symptoms. If I stick you behind a boring desk and make you do that job all day with ADHD, it's going to be hard. But if I give you a job that's a little more interesting, maybe you're interacting with people, maybe you're doing what you're doing, where you're giving interviews to people and staying active, that may be a better fit for someone with ADHD. So learning about your condition, telling your clinician, hey, here's where I see difficulties in my life. Maybe it's at home with my wife in the evenings where I get frustrated because I'm disorganized and I'm just overwhelmed.
When we introduced you to the digital desk, we talked about this nationwide shortage that was it was announced back in the fall of last year. Do we still have this shortage? And my understanding is that there are so many people being diagnosed. How did the pandemic have an impact on the diagnosis of ADHD?
100%. So during the pandemic, as we were all sitting at home doing our jobs virtually, our kids were having to learn at home virtually. If you had problems with concentration, being distracted, it came up to the forefront. Everybody could see it. So parents were looking at their kids saying, God, I know the teachers brought this up, but now I see it with my kids. I need to get them some help. Parents themselves looked at themselves and they said, God, I'm overwhelmed with this. I've always been wired this way, but in this current digital world, this is just overwhelming. So the rates of ADHD and people coming in for help did go up during the pandemic. then we had a fixed supply of medications out there. And that supply is probably not going to go up, especially the supply of short-acting stimulants. So if you have increased demand with a fixed supply, that led to a nationwide shortage.
Has that shortage gotten any better? Where are we on that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it has not, especially with certain of them. Short-acting stimulants are in short supply all across the country. Here in Missouri, but if I went out to Washington, D.C., if I went to Baltimore, if I went to California, short-acting stimulants are in short supply, and they're probably going to stay that way. So that's made us all examine with our patients, are there other long-acting, once-daily treatments that may help to manage your symptoms, may even be a better fit for your symptoms, because those medicines do tend to have a better supply these days.
Let's talk about those different options because, yeah, if the shortage is going to stick around a while, let's talk about different treatments.
Of course. So I'll just give you a bunch of names you may want to think about with your clinician. And once again, this is a personal choice with you and your clinician. We have a long-acting amphetamine called Vyvanse that still tends to have pretty good supply, and there's an even longer-lasting one called Mydayis that has long supply. We have various versions of Concerta. Some of those are generic, some of them are not. Some of those are available, some are a little harder to get a hold of. And then we have some methylphenidates that come in a beaded formulation called Focalin or Metadate that tend to be available right now. We have two non-stimulants for adults that tend to be available, both atenmoxetine and Qelbree. Both have pretty good supply all across the country. So I think those are some of the names you may think about. So we have shortages of some of the types of ADHD medicines, but we have other versions that are in pretty good supply.
You know, this has been an interesting interview, Doctor, and something that's revealing to so many out there. We have thousands of viewers each and every morning joining us here, and I know that either someone knows or has a friend or perhaps a family member with ADHD. Where can they go to get some more information on what we talked about and any other questions they may have?
I'll give you two resources. One is a group called CHAD. And CHAD makes a magazine once a month called Attitude. And CHAD is a group of patients that have ADHD that are advocates that put together these resources. So Attitude's a once-a-month magazine. In addition, APSARD, the organization that's a group of researchers, teachers, doctors, nurses, psychologists, apsard.org, has a lot of resources and can steer you in places to learn more about ADHD.
You know, this has been a great interview. Dr. Greg Mattingly, Associate Clinical Professor, Washington University, and we really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, take a look at the latest edition of Memphis Magazine. FedEx at 50, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That is Raj Subramaniam. We talked to John Sparks, the author of that article. That is in the edition today and this month. Also is some focus on some eats and some drinks and some local places to go. And joining me now to talk more about this article, Dining Out, for example, Sam Chichi, the author of it. He's joining us on the digital desk to talk about this month's edition of Memphis Magazine. Good to see you again, Sam, as always. Tell me about this Hook Point Brewery tap room. I'm familiar with Hook Point. I believe there's an affiliation with veterans. And I think they brew the beer out in Collierville, but this new tap room's in East Memphis. Am I right so far?
That's right. Yeah, the founder, Mike Sadler, he's a former Navy pilot. Kind of made his career out of that, and is still flying today for FedEx. But yeah, the name Flat Hat for their kind of signature beer brand comes from the term for unauthorized low altitude flying. So you can see those kind of veteran Navy fingerprints all over the really cool stuff. But yeah, Mike has been operating the Flat Hat brand since 2014 actually, but most of their beer has been available from their distribution center out in Collierville. And during the pandemic, he kind of started looking around for places he could set up a tap room, because that had always been part of his goal to create this space kind of in the heart of the city where people could come and try more of their beers. They could try more things, maybe serve some food as well. So they opened this place up in Brookhaven Circle just a couple months ago, and I think East Memphis has really taken a liking to it. I hopped out there a couple months ago, and it was a really great environment, a very nice open space. So many different beers to try, a lot of really cool bar snacks. If you're a beer fan, you got to try it out. I know Flat Hat hasn't been readily available to a lot of people, or they might just have missed it. So this is a great opportunity to just try a new beer and add something to your beer collection.
Yeah, you had the tough assignment of going out there and going to Tap Room and trying the beers and trying the food. You said it's only been open a short time. Brookhaven Circle's become such a trendy spot there, with Hog and Hominy and several others. It sounds like a great spot for a tap room as well. Tell me a little more about the atmosphere. Is it a big place inside? Is it inside and out?
Hey, it's inside and out. It was still kind of wintry when I went over, so the patio was closed. But yeah, they've got a really spacious interior. They've got a really long, very nice bar you can sit at if you want to just hang out by yourself and watch the game. But they've got a separate, really large room, which has some pretty big tables. I think they've got a large community table in there alongside a bunch of other, smaller ones. So it's a great place to go if you want to just, have a beer for fun after work or something, or if you just want to, even take the family out or grab a large group of friends and, sit at that table, meet some other Memphians and strike up a conversation, or, they've got plenty of shareable snacks in there too, which is definitely something I want to talk about. First of all, I think it's really exciting that a brewery or a tap room is, kind of serving its own food. You don't normally see that. It's a bit of a challenge sometimes, but Mike told me that was always one of his first goals too. He's like, we got to serve our own food, and I think they've got a really diverse range of stuff. I didn't get to try their brunch, but they had these really good chicken and waffle dishes that I'm gonna try next time. They got a very cool blueberry compote pancake, which looked fruity and delicious and nice and blue and fluffy. But for my part, I tried a lot of the savory snacks. I think I got to draw attention to the duck wontons. Those were delicious. These little crispy fried triangular flat wontons with, I think, minced duck and a little bit of bacon in there too. It was just an excellent snack to really kick off the whole thing. And, stuff like pretzel bites, that's a classic bar snack. There are just so many different things that I think lend themselves to being the perfect accompaniment to a beer. So, whatever they're doing over there, they really got it down pat. And I think another cool fact is that they use beer, and I think almost all of their recipes. I know the Afterburner bites, these little spicy chicken bites, they use their red ale in there, and that gives it a little bit of an extra kick to it too. And I just think it's a really cool way to incorporate all the cool stuff they're trying into their kind of innovative menu.
Yeah, I love it. And I like the beer can too. You got a really cool beer can there next to Mike and his wife there. It looks like a naval aviator. I mean, you're supporting a business started by a U.S. veteran, a Navy veteran here, in addition to the drink, also the food. You can learn more about Hook Point Brewery's tap room in the pages of the Memphis Magazine here, this month's edition. That's what we're looking at right now. I also want to go to an article, Sam, you also wrote about getting some craft cocktails at Supper Club on 2nd. I went there a few months ago when it opened, and we had that one really nice table right by the street there, right by the glass. It was really a nice place. It was almost like a private table in a way, and I had the short rib, and it was excellent. They call it the shoddy rib, and it was quite good. Tell me about the cocktails.
I only got to try one, but it was delicious. I watched the bartender Stephanie put that all together. She was so meticulous about her craft. It was like watching an artist at work, just how she layered everything in there. I know a lot of bartenders around town are very talented, but I'm no mixologist myself. But I tried the smash on 2nd, and wow, just all the things going in there. Based around cognac, putting all the cool berries. You got the little blueberries on top. There was so much color in there. It's one of those things where you see someone carrying it down the bar, and you're like, oh my goodness, I need to I need to grab one of those. And then, you got the little edible flower garnish on top. I mean, wow, I got to get back there and try the rest of the cocktails. I only got to try this one, and, already I'm like, hey, when can they send me back out there again to try some more? And really, the whole place is just so chic. I mean, you have the celebrities and stars portraited around the place. In the picture there, you can see Denzel Washington. You have just plush green velvet chairs. You got the golden light fixtures. I think I described one as like a star bursting or something like that. You just kind of bring that little astral look up there. It's phenomenal. I really don't think there's anything like it downtown, and it's packed all the time. It's so crazy. I see open tables a lot of places. That place is always packed whenever I walk by. It's amazing.
Yeah. 85 South 2nd Street, and it was a good time when I went, and certainly looks like it was a good time when you went. Again, you can read more about it in this month's edition of Memphis Magazine and memphismagazine.com. Sam Chichi, always appreciate the conversations. Keep up the good work and those tough assignments, man.
Of course. Thanks so much.
Well, from Memphis Magazine, let's dive into the pages of La Prensa Latina, the latest edition now in newsstands for you to take a look at. Joining me now to talk more about it is Vivian Fernandez de Adamson, editor with La Prensa Latina. Good morning, Vivian. How you doing?
Hi, good morning. How are you, Amanda?
Doing really good. I'm excited for the weekend. So it's a good day when it's a Friday and when I'm talking to you. But this week's edition is something that is near and dear to us here in Memphis. Memphis in May, it's always a big celebration. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
Yes, and we're very happy that, finally is going back to the Tomley Park, which is the original place for Memphis in May. So it is just amazing. And then this year they are honoring a different country like usual. And this time it's going to be Malaysia. So it's a wonderful country in Asia, in Southeast Asia. So, just to know a little bit about this country, Malaysia is the wealthiest country. One of the wealthiest countries in the region, generating a GDP of $902.6 billion. So, it has an industry, that it primarily exports, including electronics, chemicals, semiconductor chips, natural rubber, palm oil, and petroleum. And, just for your information as well, Tennessee received $1.85 billion in imports from Malaysia and exported $147 million in products to the country in 2021. This is according to Memphis in May. So, this is just, very useful information for everybody. It's just education as well. So we all know that Memphis in May, it's not only, to celebrate all things here in Memphis, the culture, the art, everything here, but also, to educate our community and also to educate other people in the world about, what we have here in Memphis and other countries as well. So, and not only that, we also are going to have, the iconic festivals like the Beale Street Music Festival, the Barbecue Festival, and also the Run, the marathon. So the Great American River Run, So it is going to be a wonderful, it's going to be a very, very good month for everybody here to enjoy.
Oh, yeah. And I loved the insight in Malaysia. I think it's great that, like you said, it's a good way to educate people about just other parts of the world. And it's a month-long festival. I remember going, growing up, and it seemed like, hopefully it's not this way this year, but it seemed like every time I would go, it would rain. And so, it became... Music Fest became Mud Fest and all that, but it is a lot of fun. Are you planning to go to any of the events they have this month or the upcoming month?
I might go to the barbecue cooking contest. I'm not sure about the Music Fest, again, because like you said, I call it Mud Fest too because it rains most of the time. So I'm not sure. I might go. I don't know, maybe. I mean, I know it's going to be fun. There's going to be, amazing groups there, like the Lumineers, for instance, very important groups, Greta Van Fleet, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, Earth, Wind and Fire, I mean, they're going to have amazing groups this time, like always. So I might be able to go, I don't know, but it's going to be fun, for everybody, especially for the youth, to go and celebrate and have fun all together.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, I love the Lumineers. Also, Glorilla, native Memphian, going to be in the lineup this year. So it's always a lot of fun. I mean, they never disappoint. Memphis is able to bring in that talent and all those different artists. And so it's just, Memphis in May, it's one of my favorite times of the year. It's kind of the start of summer and enjoying some time outside. So hopefully you're able to make it out to one of them. Barbecue Fest, maybe. I mean, who doesn't love good barbecue, right?
Right.
So good stuff. Yeah.
And I know be able to see the new park too, the renovated park. So that's going to be, something. It's going to be a plus.
Yeah, I think everybody missed the fact that it wasn't there last year, and so yeah, I'm glad. I want to go check out the updates and everything too, because it looks great. I've seen video, but of course I want to go see it in person. And I know another a big story in this week's edition is talking about Mother's Day, which is just around the corner. I've already been thinking about gifts to get my mother this year, and so
Me too.
I love this article because it just talks about how it's often celebrated differently, different times of the year in Latin America. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes, in most countries in Latin America, it is celebrated the second Sunday of the month of May, like here in the U.S. And then, most countries in the world as well. But there's other countries like Mexico, for instance, and Guatemala and El Salvador, they celebrate Mother's Day on May 10th. Costa Rica celebrates on the third Sunday of October. Costa Rica is August 15, I'm sorry. Argentina is the third Sunday of October, and Panama is on December 8th. Now, Paraguay celebrates Mother's Day on May 15th. Nicaragua celebrates Mother's Day on May 30th, and the Dominican Republic celebrates Mother's Day on the last day of Sunday. The last Sunday of May. I'm sorry about that. So it's kind of confusing with all these dates, So, and I was reading, so I didn't forget. But yes, I mean, that's how it is. The Dominican Republic is the last Sunday of May.
Yeah, it is a lot to keep up with. I was reading through it, and I had no idea that that's how different it was in Latin America when it came to Mother's Day and that sort of thing. But Vivian, I love having you on. It's always fun, and of course, this is just scratching the surface of what you can find in this week's edition of La Prensa Latina in newsstands now. You can go to laprensa-latina.com. Vivian, any big plans this weekend?
No, not really. I don't know. I mean, there's always something else, coming up. So I'm not sure. I might be able to go to the Cannon Center, to see the show with the Dance Collective. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I do know that for May 12th and 13th, Dance Collective, for instance, and Iris Collective, they're going to have Brazil by day and Brazil by night. So I don't want to miss that. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, well, I'm planning to go to the Janet Jackson concert, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I forgot about it. Yes.
There's so much going on this weekend, right? Well, Vivian, it's a pleasure talking to you as always, and you have a great rest of your morning and a good weekend. We'll see you next time.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, let's talk about your forecast, because obviously a lot of things happening this weekend, as you just heard, as we were chatting it up with Vivian Fernandez Adamson with La Prensa Latina. So let's go ahead and get an inside look at our forecast, because we are going to have a little rain into the weekend. Is it going to rain on your parade? Let's take a look.
Happy Friday. I'm Versal meteorologist Gay Galindo. Tracked some rain and storms last night, all thanks to a cold front. That front is now off to our east, and we're tracking yet another one that will move in this weekend. But no severe weather expected with the front that's going to move through on Saturday, but it could give us some showers at times. Right now, we are not seeing anything in the way of rain, but we are tracking some fog this morning. Fog should lift out right around 9 to 10 o'clock, and there could be a stray shower or two as we go into the afternoon, but I think most will stay dry. mainly clouds more than anything. By 11 o'clock, cloudy skies and showers approaching from the west thanks to that cold front that's going to slide in by Saturday. Rain chances go up a bit for your Saturday, right around 40%. By Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be tracking just some dry weather. Mostly cloudy for today. As I mentioned, a stray shower. 71 degrees for a high temperature. And while we were seeing clouds now, I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine as we head toward the latter part of the afternoon. Tonight, we drop down to 55 degrees. There could be a couple of showers late, but only about a 30% chance. Winds will be light out of the northeast. Here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. I know there are a lot of outdoor plans, but you'll want to have that plan B in place because we are looking at times when we could see some wet weather in the morning hours, and I think there could be around in the afternoon. It's all thanks to that front. Let me show you how things play out on our First Alert Futurecast. Right around midnight, cloudy skies, but as we put things into motion, notice showers starting to form in the portions of northeast Arkansas. Seeing some showers from Harrisburg to Marianna, and also a couple of showers in West Tennessee. As we make our way into the afternoon, those showers still west of the Mississippi River, but as we head around 2 o'clock, we start to see those tracking east of the river. Could be in the form of a few embedded thunderstorms, which some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. So right around 2 o'clock could be dealing with some heavy rain in Memphis and in Shelby County. Olive Branch could be seeing some of that, as well as on down toward Batesville and Oxford. But the good thing is this system is going to move out fairly quickly. By 4, it presses a little bit more toward the east. Now seeing showers from Bolivar to Holly Springs to Ripley, and then moving out as we head toward the evening hours. Clouds will linger for a time, but I think we'll pick up a good bit of sunshine late in the day on Sunday. Here's a look at how much rain we're expecting. We're looking at anywhere from about just less than a half of an inch to over a half of an inch, just a little bit over, but less than 3/4 of an inch for most areas. As we check out your 7-day forecast, you can see that rain chance on Saturday, but after that, here comes that nice dry stretch of weather. That cold front is going to drop temperatures into the upper 60s, but back in the 70s by Tuesday.
Okay, creating healthy boundaries. Boy, that is a goal for so many people. It doesn't really matter what age is either. I mean, when you're younger, when you're in your teens, your 20s, or even as older adults, we want to create healthy boundaries. Let's bring in right now Alice White. She's a counselor at Methodist Le Bonheur. Good morning, Alice. Let's talk about what healthy boundaries actually means. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for having me. So first of all, I'd like to kind of define even what is a boundary. And the APA defines a boundary as a psychological separation that protects the integrity of an individual or a group, or that it helps an individual or group set realistic expectations or limits on participation in a relationship or an activity.
So how do you know if you are one of those who really needs to, identify a healthy boundary and work towards that? I mean, how do you know if you don't have healthy boundaries, I guess?
So I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Maybe ask yourself, like, what is causing you stress right now? Maybe who or what drains your energy, but also who or what makes you feel supported. Those might be some questions that can help you figure out where you need to set boundaries.
Okay. All right. I'm following you so far. So, we have the healthy boundaries. We want to set them. And sometimes we need others to kind of know that we're trying to set these healthy boundaries. What's the best way to tell them without, upsetting them?
So we like to use, in the counseling realm, we like to use I statements. And so I would start out by coming from yourself. So I need X, Y, or Z. Try to be clear, straightforward, show them exactly what your boundary may look like. Being assertive and direct will help with clear communication, and also being firm in your communication to reiterate what your boundary is and what that expectation looks like.
My understanding is sometimes people feel guilty about telling folks, hey, I need to set these healthy boundaries. How can we not feel guilty about doing this? I mean, it's about self-improvement and being self-aware and trying to make ourselves better for not just ourselves, but for everyone else, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest thing I think when we maybe break our own boundaries is that feeling of guilt. And that's a really heavy emotion to feel. Maybe it's we feel we're making ourselves feel guilty, or the other person that we're setting a boundary, it makes us feel guilty. So kind of how to deal with that. Remember kind of the reason why you're setting the boundary. The big reason for me is to protect myself, right? So remembering that you're doing this for you and that it protects you. You're not trying to hurt another person. You're trying to protect yourself.
How often do we need to reevaluate our boundaries? I mean, we could set it great in, 2 years ago, but then now some other issues have come up. Maybe we've changed jobs or what have you. How often should we reevaluate?
I would say in the beginning, when you set a new boundary, kind of checking in after you've implemented that boundary a few times. Check in and make sure, is this boundary working? Is it are people respecting my boundary? Am I holding up my own boundary? So I think early on, you want to check in with yourself. And then if you feel like it's not working or other people aren't respecting your boundary, then that's when you need to reevaluate your boundaries.
Gotcha. This is interesting stuff here, Alice. Where can we go to get some of the information you mentioned here? It'd be nice to maybe find a website to do that.
Yeah, so Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare has an online blog that you can go to, and I believe it's yourhealth.methodisthealth.org, and it has a lot of different articles on there, whether it's medical or mental health.
Okay, Alice White with Methodist Le Bonheur Healthcare, counselor, talking about healthy boundaries. We appreciate your time, Alice. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much.
Hey, it's Amanda Hansen here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk, and I want to tell you about this nonprofit that is dedicated to helping foster children that's making its way to the Memphis area, and I think it's going to do some incredible work. I'm so excited to talk to you about this more. We have Virginia Roberts that's joining us now with Isaiah 117 House. Good morning, Virginia. How you doing?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to be talking with you. I think this is a great topic, and I think that the work that this nonprofit is going to bring to Memphis is going to be incredible. I've done several stories in the past with children that have been in the foster care system and aged out, and they always talked about the foster care system being broken in so many ways. I think that what this nonprofit is going to do here in the Memphis area is going to be great. So let's talk a little bit more about Isaiah 117 House and what it's all about.
Great. So the Isaiah 117 House actually began in the heart of Rhonda Paulson back in 2014. She and her husband in Elizabethton, Tennessee started their foster care classes to become a foster parent. And one of those classes involves going to a DCS office and kind of seeing what the process looks like. And at that time, they found out that children, often when they're removed from their home, go to wait a placement in the DCS office, which feels a lot like the DMV. It was never intended for children. And post-COVID, things take a lot longer for the placements. There's fewer foster families and such. And so at that time, she just said, what if there was a home where the children could come rather than going to a DCS office to sit and wait, that they could go to a house where there would be volunteers there who it's their job to lavishly love on these children. They'd be offered a bubble bath or a hot shower, home cooked meals. They could play outside with volunteers, all while the caseworker gets to have a private office where they can make those phone calls for the placements and just find the right placement. The volunteer gets to help take care of the child, lighten the load of the caseworker. And then when they do find a placement, we help ease that transition for the foster child and the family by helping provide them with whatever they need, car seats, formula, clothes. And so it just really changes the way that foster care begins.
And I think that's so important because, like you said, the DHS, it was not set up for a kid to be sitting in there, and just the emotional and the trauma that those children are already experiencing. So having something like this is great. And I love that this started in Elizabethton, Tennessee. My dad actually grew up in Elizabethton, Tennessee, small world. But You know, I know that this is such, this is something that you're passionate about. Can you share a little bit about your story?
Sure, I would love to. So our family began our foster care journey about 7 years ago, and we sat in the same classes to become a foster family. And I can remember thinking about what removal day might look like for a child. And at that time, I was imagining a child being rescued from a bad situation, immediately taken to a loving foster home where they would just automatically feel safe and all would be well. But after 7 years, I've tragically realized that is not removal day. Removal day is a child's worst day. It's a day where they have a stranger that comes into their home, says, you need to come with me. Here's a bag to pack some of your things. There's a lot of maybe chaos in the house. They're being taken away from everything they've ever known, their mom, their pets, maybe their favorite blanket that they forgot, and all of the shuffle. And then they're taken to a place that was never intended for children to wait. So after we finish our foster care classes, we've had many placements and people through our house or children through our house. And in November of 2020, we actually adopted our youngest son, Josiah, through foster care. And so at that time, we had 5 kids, 9 and under. And I can remember our caseworker, she started to write the paperwork to close our home. And we said, no, just wait, we know the numbers, we know the need. At this time, there's over 1,200 children in foster care just in Shelby County. That's more than double the next county in Tennessee. And so we said, no, we've got more room in our heart, more room in our home, even though our septic system would probably tell you differently. And so we said, we can take a teen girl because there's a huge need for foster families to take teenagers. So it wasn't long before we got a phone call, not for 1 girl, but for 2 teen girls. And when they call you for a placement, they only tell you what you need to know. So we didn't know that me and Trinity had spent 7 long days bouncing between a DCS office and emergency respite placement so that they would have a place to rest their head that night. We didn't know that they had spent 7 days hearing rejection call after rejection call, just feeling unloved and unwanted. And so we also didn't know that we were the very last call that they were making before they split the sisters up and started back at the top of the list. So thankfully we said yes. That day they came into our home, and a short 6 months later, they became a part of our forever family. We adopted them as well. So now we have 7 children, 3 that have gone through the foster care system that we've adopted. So it's very close to our heart. It's would have changed their story a lot if there would have been a home that they could have gone to.
Yeah, and I love that you brought in both of the sisters where they didn't have to get split up. We had a meteorologist that worked with me when I was in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and he went through the adoption process, and he was initially going to adopt 1 child, but then it was going to be separating 2 sisters, so he took in both. And so you find that happens a lot. You know, I told you I was doing stories about, you know, working with children that had aged out and they were separated from their siblings and then trying to find their siblings again. So, you know, it was great that you were able to do that. And did you always feel like that adoption and fostering was something that you were interested in doing?
When my husband and I were actually dating forever ago, it was always kind of a conversation that we felt like adoption was going to be a part of our family. And then when we started to want to have a family, we were looking at private domestic adoption. We did some things through Life Choices. But then as we were having children, we kind of transitioned away from that because private adoption can be very expensive. And so that's when we kind of looked into foster care, and we were an open home with Tennessee Baptist Children's Home. And we, at that point, after we'd taken the classes, and like I said, we knew the numbers and the need, our hearts were just broken. And we said, whether this ends in adoption or not, this is what we're called to do.
And I know you at one point we talked about just trying to find those foster homes. Is there a lack of people that are being a part of that foster care system. I know you were mentioning 1,200 kids right here in Shelby County. I mean, that's just devastating to think about in itself. What message would you send to those who maybe have thought about being a foster parent and just how great this need is?
Yeah, there's a huge need. They're always having the classes. It's an 8-week class called Tennessee Key. The first one is completely informational that you can just go to. There's no commitment. You can hear about what the needs are in our county and kind of what it might look like. And so I would encourage anyone, Tennessee Baptist Children's Homes are always having them. And then Department of Children's Services has them, I think, every month. So if you could go on the website and check it out and just find out more, even if you're interested. And there's other ways to get involved. Not everyone's called to be a foster parent, but that is a huge need right now for sure.
And I think it's great that Isaiah 117 House is coming here in Memphis. I know they have locations in other parts of the state. This is the first here in West Tennessee, and they're also based in other states as well. And like you said, the need with so many kids in that foster care system, this is going to be a great bridge for them to be able to have that smoother transition, even though they're dealing with that traumatic experience in itself. I know that there's going to be a kickoff event that's going to be coming up towards the end of the month. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we would love for anyone who's interested in being a part of the Isaiah 117 House. There's so many opportunities to get involved at every level, to come to the kickoff event that we're having this coming Sunday, April 30th. It's at 3:00 at Harding Academy. And Rhonda Paulson, the founder and director, is going to be there to be speaking and just sharing the mission and the vision and finding out how to get involved.
And let's talk about where this location is, where y'all are going to be located.
Currently, we don't have a house yet. So after we kick off, once we launch our awareness campaign and a lot of people know that there's a need, then we're looking for land. We're looking for donated houses that we can a lot of the houses have been remodeled. Some of them are new builds on land. And so just asking for people to help connect us. We're actually going to have 2 houses in Shelby County starting out, which is exciting. We definitely want to stay closer to the downtown, midtown area because that's where the DCS office is in 40 South Main. So we'd like to have a closer access to that. So yeah, we'd love any leads that anyone has on that.
Yeah, is there a website that's been set up yet, or where an email address where people can, if they're watching right now, we have thousands of people that watch us on our stream. Is there a way that they can connect with you guys if they say, hey, I want to get involved with this and the work y'all are doing?
Absolutely. We have a Facebook and Instagram account. If you put in Isaiah 117 House, Shelby County, Tennessee, you can find us there, or you can email at shelbytn@isaiah117house.com.
Virginia, this has been a great conversation, and I'm so excited about this. Is there anything else you feel like we missed that you want to make sure we hit on before we let you go?
After we kick off on Sunday, we're going to be having monthly expansion meetings where anyone from the community can come and join our team and help just get this off the ground. We would love help spreading the awareness of our event and just opportunities to help.
Well, Virginia, I really appreciate you joining us here on the Action News 5 Digital Desk, and good luck with the kickoff event and just all the excitement headed your way over the next couple months with this new venture.
Thank you.
All right, well, graduation season is upon us, and whether it's high school graduation and maybe wanting to further your education or enter the workforce, or college graduates accepting a new job, financial decisions can be so stressful, and just trying to navigate through that can be very difficult. So joining us to talk a little bit more about it is Ashley Feinstein-Gersley. She's the author of Financial Adulting, Everything You Need to Know to Be a Financially Confident and Conscious Adult. Ashley, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on.
So I guess the first thing I want to do is just dive right in. Let's talk about maybe what are some of the biggest mistakes or things that these young adults, whether it's 18 into your early 20s, where maybe they're making mistakes financially. What would you say is probably some of the biggest problems or things that they just don't know about?
Yes, I'd say two big things. The first, and I did both of these things, so it's coming from experience, is to wait to save until we have enough money to save. So there's this idea, and how we traditionally view saving is we earn money, we live our lives, we pay everybody else, and then we hope and wait that there will be money left over to save. And in my experience, that just doesn't work for most people. Even when we get a raise, there's still not money. So I would say pay ourselves first, pay yourself first is something that I would highly, highly recommend. And then the other is not having a plan. And I know that budgets get a bad rap. We think they might be restricting, they might limit our fun, but I view them as an act of self-love, because when we have a budget, we have a plan, we have peace of mind, we can build in things that are fun and have no guilt as we spend them, and just have clarity about where our money is going and reach our financial goals. So I would say not having a plan and waiting to save until we make more money are the two biggest mistakes that I see.
And when you talk about saving, is there a certain rule of thumb when you say you want to maybe save back this percentage of the money you're bringing in, or does it just depend on each individual's budget and what kind of money they're bringing in? What advice would you have for that?
Yes, so I would say it does depend. I'm not a big fan of having a certain percentage as far as saving and investing and retirement, but I would say first and foremost, you want to have that crisis fund saved up. So that first $1,000, that first 1 month of expenses, and then from there building up to have a fully funded rainy day fund. So in case something happens with an illness or with our job, that we have money to pay for our expenses for 3 months, 6 months, depending on your personal situation.
And this is just a question for me, because I think way back, back in the day, a lot of people would have their checkbook and they would go in, and every time they would write a check, they would go in, they'd balance their checkbook. They had an idea of the money that was coming in, coming out. Do you feel like that now people really aren't using that checkbook and it's harder to maybe keep up with the money you're spending? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think technology has done some great things, but it makes it very easy to have no idea where our money is going. Even if you think about checkbooks are a great example, credit cards, we don't feel the pain of what we spent until the bill goes through. Swiping our credit card, hopping in and out of a Lyft, we're not even really paying. So I think I'm a huge fan of having what I call money parties, which are time that we set aside to look at what's happened with our money over the last month or the last week. So actually go through and look at those expenses, because it is so easy to lose track of them. And I've had that experience where you see the credit card bill and you say, that wasn't me, but then you go through each and every expense and you realize, these things just add up. So having that time, if we don't look at our expenses, it's just not going to happen. And we need to carve out that time for ourselves.
Do you feel like that generation, you just get out of high school or you're coming out of college, that little group right there, a lot of times they're finally getting out of the house, they're starting to support themselves. Do you think that some of the biggest mistakes start off with credit cards, and maybe every time you go to a store and they say, well, you get 20% off if you apply for a credit card? Do you feel like that this generation can sometimes fall victim to that when it comes to credit cards? What are some of the biggest mistakes?
Yes. So I actually was one of the people who had that happen to me, and I didn't even understand how credit cards worked. I remember by the time I paid my bill, I had so many late fees. And so I do think there's this idea that it actually is something that I wish I knew when I graduated from school, that most people, we don't learn about this. And I'm seeing it more and more being taught in schools, which is wonderful. And I know parents want to be sharing this information with their kids, but they might not feel like they're equipped to do so. And so I do think there's this feeling when we graduate that we're the only ones who don't understand, and there can feel this like taboo of talking about it and asking questions. And what I've found is that most of us don't understand, and we're all learning as we go, and we're learning the hard way. And so I do think that helps to feel less alone as we navigate this. But then also, yes, to really, I think there's a lot working against us when it comes to personal finance, and that we're not educated about it. There's like with the credit card, there's probably 50 pages of small print that I could have read to understand it. So I would definitely caution to really understand any financial products that we sign up for. Talk to people about it, because if they don't understand and you don't understand, you might be able to find someone else, or to go and figure it out together can feel less lonely as we navigate this.
I remember when I was in college, starting in college, credit card companies, they actually would set up booths on campus, and you would end up getting a credit card, and it would have this incredibly high interest rate, but you weren't educated on what to even look for, what to consider. So, I mean, I can see how credit cards can really get people into trouble. I do want to switch gears, though. Student loans. When a lot of people rely on student loans to be able to go to school, what kind of advice would you give when people start looking to see how much they need to be borrowing? Because they do have to pay that back at some point.
Yes, so when we're going to, there's actually a chapter in the book dedicated to debt. So understanding credit cards, understanding student loans, and I think when we think about financing college, there are a lot of pieces that fund the pie. So there could be grants, there could be financial aid, there could be federal loans, there could be private loans. But at the beginning, when we're trying to figure out how much to take out, ideally we can minimize that pie. And in interviewing some experts on student loans for the book, I found that people actually can negotiate with their universities on what they're able to help them provide. In the worst case, that they say no, but then you're able to take out less debt, and then also to shop around with those private loans, just because we might think that that first offer we get is the best offer that we're going to get, but actually the offers can vary as far as interest rates. And when we're talking about numbers that are that big, it can make a huge difference if we're paying a 6% interest rate or an 8% interest rate or a 4% interest rate on our student loan. So I would say try to reduce the amount as much as possible and then shop around for the best rate on those private loans.
Good advice. Now, for those that are maybe graduating college, they're getting into the workforce, what are the biggest pieces of advice that you would want to send to them as far as their finances go?
I'd say the biggest, so first, again, just you're not alone in figuring this out, and financial adulting, so that is the name of my new book. Being a financial adult is about taking small, consistent steps. And so I think sometimes with a lot of different goals, but specifically our finances, we view improving in that area that it has to be this overnight transformation, that I wake up, I spend the whole weekend making my financial plan, and I'm a new person. But that sets us up for failure because it's too much of a jump. And so taking small, consistent steps that are manageable, that feel like we can keep improving, I think is the way to go, because then we're improving and learning all year round. And then something that I wished that I did more of, and I know that so many looking back at the beginning of their careers wish they did, is start saving for retirement, because when we're starting young, we have so much time to allow our money to grow and compound, and it just makes it so much easier on us later. And that money is coming out pre-tax, typically when it's a 401k, so it actually feels less painful than you'd expect. So I'd say, looking back, that's something that a lot of people that I talk to wish they put more aside for retirement and let it grow for them.
And we've talked so much here at the Digital Desk about debt and what debt can do as far as your mental health and various other things that it can do. I love the name of the financial adulting. I love that. But do you feel like that one reason you decided to put this book together is because a lot of times people build up that debt while they're young, and then after they get out of college, they've built up all this debt as they're starting their new job. Do you feel like a lot of that debt ends up getting built up early on in life, and then you're just spending time trying to pay it back?
Definitely is a big part of stress in the younger generation, and something you mentioned about the booths during college and getting a free t-shirt and having, understanding that when we're paying that minimum payment, it isn't actually potentially making any dent in the balance, and our credit card could still be growing. So there's so much there, and I do think there's so much shame. First of all, there's a lot of stress around debt, especially when we're starting our careers and we might not have a lot of extra income to go towards those debt payments, but then also just the shame that comes with debt. And so I first love to talk, in the book I talk about what debt is, and it's really just money we owe for something we bought. It doesn't mean we're bad or that we did something wrong, or it could be a certain time in our life, it could be a mistake we made. But from there, really, I think sometimes when we have so much shame around the debt, it has us even not look at it. So I take everyone through a 3-step process to make a plan to manage and pay down debt by starting with looking at what it actually is. And that can be as stressful as that sounds to list out all that information. It can be really eye-opening. And then once we know what's happening, we can make a plan to manage it. So always better to have that information than to not look.
And educating yourself about what you need to know is so important. And you were mentioning about paying that minimum. I had a friend that during that age time between 18, early 20s, she got a bunch of credit cards and she told me, she's like, just pay the minimum payment. And I'm like, this is terrible advice. I guess any final points you want to make before we let you go?
I'd go back to that taking small, consistent steps. And you mentioned earlier why I wrote this book. And because so many of the things that you're mentioning are things that I made mistakes with. And I studied finance, I worked in finance, and I still knew nothing about my own finances. And so this is something that we are not set up for. So we want to learn as much as we can. And my goal is in writing this book and in the work I do that others don't have to make the same mistakes that I did and can progress through their financial lives with a lot less stress and potentially heartache.
Well, Ashley Feinstein Gerstley, the author of Financial Adulting, Everything You Need to Know to Be a Financially Confident and Conscious Adult. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing some really great advice and some really good tips for our viewers this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Happy Friday. I'm Versatile meteorologist Gay Galindo. Tracked some rain and storms last night, all thanks to a cold front. That front is now off to our east, and we're tracking yet another one that will move in this weekend. But no severe weather expected with the front that's going to move through on Saturday, but it could give us some showers at times. Right now, we are not seeing anything in the way of rain, but we are tracking some fog this morning. Fog should lift out right around 9 to 10 o'clock, and there could be a stray shower or two as we go into the afternoon, but I think most will stay dry. Mainly clouds more than anything. By 11 o'clock, cloudy skies and showers approaching from the west thanks to that cold front that's going to slide in by Saturday. Rain chances go up a bit for your Saturday, right around 40%. By Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be tracking just some dry weather. Mostly cloudy for today. As I mentioned, a stray shower. 71 degrees for a high temperature. And while we were seeing clouds now, I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine as we head toward the latter part of the afternoon. Tonight, we drop down to 55 degrees. There could be a couple of showers late, but only about a 30% chance. Winds will be light out of the northeast. Here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. I know there are a lot of outdoor plans, but you'll want to have that plan B in place because we are looking at times where we could see some wet weather in the morning hours, and I think there could be around in the afternoon. It's all thanks to that front. Let me show you how things play out on our first alert futurecast. Right around midnight, cloudy skies, but as we put things into motion, notice showers starting to form in the portions of northeast Arkansas, seeing some showers from Harrisburg to Marianna, and also a couple of showers in West Tennessee. As we make our way into the afternoon, those showers still west of the Mississippi River, but as we head around 2 o'clock, we start to see those tracking east of the river. Could be in the form of a few embedded thunderstorms, which some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. So right around 2 o'clock could be dealing with some heavy rain in Memphis and in Shelby County. Olive Branch could be seeing some of that, as well as on down toward Batesville and Oxford. But the good thing is this system is going to move out fairly quickly. By 4, it presses a little bit more toward the east. Now seeing showers from Bolivar to Holly Springs to Ripley, and then moving out as we head toward the evening hours. Clouds will linger for a time, but I think we'll pick up a good bit of sunshine late in the day on Sunday. Here's a look at how much rain we're expecting. We're looking at anywhere from about just less than a half of an inch to over a half of an inch, just a little bit over, but less than 3/4 of an inch for most areas. As we check out your 7-day forecast, you can see that rain chance on Saturday, but after that, here comes that nice dry stretch of weather. That cold front is going to drop temperatures into the upper 60s, but back in the 70s by Tuesday.
Okay, back here in the Action News 5 digital desk, we did a story earlier talking about teachers' pay in Tennessee, and both the state Senate and the state House passed a bill that would make it at least $50,000, and that would be filled in over the next 3 school years. Let's talk a little bit about that teachers' pay and what that means with the National Education Association president, Becky Pringle. She is the president, and she joins us now on the digital desk. Tell us about teachers' pay and this new law that goes into effect that's boosting teachers' pay in Tennessee. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to be with you. So the National Education Association actually does 4 reports annually to take a look at average teacher salary across the nation. They take a look at the starting salary of teachers across the nation, and then knowing the important role that our support staff plays in the education of our students. They took a look at the education support staff salary, and they take a look at the higher education faculty and staff salaries. We produce these reports annually because we want to make sure that as decision makers are making decisions about budgets and policies, that they have information about where their state and locality ranks in terms of teacher and support staff and higher education salary. What we know is that across the board, even though we've seen slight increases in our teacher salaries and support staff salaries, that they have not kept up with inflation. That over these last 10 years, in fact, they have gone down 6.4%. When we take a look at starting salaries, comparing this year to 2008, our teachers' starting salaries have dropped $5,000 when we account for inflation. And then when we take a look at our support staff, 40% of them, 40%, earn less than $25,000. That is not enough money for them to support their families. And in fact, many of their own children qualify for free and reduced lunch. That is not okay. And we know that this is just making worse what is already true, that we have an educator shortage in this country.
Okay, so Ms. Pringle, I don't know if you heard much about the introduction to you this morning, but we talked about how the State House and the State Senate in Tennessee just passed a bill in their legislative session boosting Tennessee teacher salaries to have a start to at least $50,000 a year in several years, being phased in, that sort of thing. So I want to get your reaction to this. I mean, I would think this would be a good start for teachers across the state of Tennessee.
It's always a good start to raise starting salaries. A couple of things that we want to focus on, not only starting salaries, but we have to focus on salaries of educators throughout their profession, because if we raise the starting salaries, we may be able to attract more educators into the profession. But what happens is if they stagnate and don't keep up with inflation, that we then lose them. We don't retain those educators, because when those young people decide they're ready to start a family or buy a house, they find, or are living under crushing student loan debt, they find that they cannot do that, and then they leave the profession. And so we have to address it across the board. We also heard from teachers. I certainly have talked with our teachers there in Tennessee, that in addition to salaries, they actually have to address the issue of respect. And for our educators, for them, respect looks like professional pay. It also looks like them having the professional authority and autonomy to make good teaching and learning decisions for their students. It also looks like, as a collective group, they have the ability through organized voices to advocate on behalf of their students and on behalf of their colleagues. And so those are some of the issues that are very troubling in Tennessee and that we are focused on, so that we not only raise salaries, good start, but that we have the ability to continue to pay our educators what they need and they deserve, so they stay in the profession, and we're able to address the needs of our students through our collective voice.
Ms. Pringle, you mentioned inflation several times, and it's been well documented that our sky-high inflation, some of the highest we've seen in 40 years, is a problem. And it's not just teachers. I mean, it's across the board. It's my industry. It's other industries. And I don't think anyone forecasted salaries or rather inflation to be that high. And I know that there are a lot of industries that just haven't been able to compete with inflation right now. They're trying. And certainly they're trying to reassess kind of where, the salary should be with regards to the inflation that we're dealing with, which again is sky high. I'm trying to figure out like what is the best median, because it's, you know, it's we all have that wish list of what needs to be addressed, but then again it's like we got to come to a compromise and figure things out. We have the teachers' salaries that have been raised in Tennessee, but where can we find common ground with everybody?
We know that in America, our public schools are the foundation of this democracy. And we know the important role that they play in the education of our students and their ability to go on to college and career and to be the leaders of a just society we want them to be. They can be healthy and happy, and they can have careers that not only fulfill them, but also that help them to take care of their own families. So we understand the important role that public education plays in our society, and therefore we understand the important role that educators play. And so when we think about priorities, we know that addressing the educator shortage in this country absolutely must be a priority, because when we say every student needs and deserves the resources and support so they can live and they can grow and thrive, we have to actually mean every. For decades, we have disinvested in our public schools. That necessarily means that our educators' salaries have been impacted for years. So inflation today is not just impacting those educators today, but it has been impacting them for a long, long time. This society, Tennessee and states across this country, must address this issue. I've called it a 5-alarm crisis. That's what it is. Our students deserve better.
Okay, the president of the National Education Association, Becky Pringle, we really appreciate you joining us on the Digital Desk. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, college AP exams start May 1st. Do you remember taking those AP exams? You know, they really do matter. You know, a lot of people say, they don't matter. No, they do. And it's a big deal, and it's something that we should talk about with our friend David Blobom joining us on the Action News 5 Digital Desk. Now, we knew David way back when, but he has gone national now. He's a recognized expert in the entrance exam, college admission industries, the director of outreach for the National Test Prep Association. David, welcome back to the Action News 5 Digital Desk. How are you?
Thanks. Doing great. It's great to be here. And actually, Angela's segment also applies to high school students, so they definitely need to check their social media as well.
Oh yeah, Angela's fantastic, and I agree with you. Yeah, you can apply that in so many different ways. But you know, the AP exams, they start May 1st. I've had kids that are dealing with that, and they've dealt with that in the past. What do you tell people? Because a lot of people, well, they don't matter, but they really do, don't they?
Yes, so they matter in some ways that students don't think about because they're in high school and it matters for college. So there's 3 main ways that AP exams help students. So if you can get AP credit in college, then you can take fewer courses in college and have an easier time, or you can potentially graduate early and save money, or you can get rid of those core requirements early and then take more advanced classes in your interests. The less important usage of them is for admissions and actually getting accepted to the schools. It's really only the top schools that look at AP exam scores like that, but that's a consideration as well. And students just need to keep in mind, they're like any other tests. Preparation is key, but they can succeed.
That is a great breakdown of why it's so important. I mean, various reasons here. Fewer courses, get to graduate early, maybe an opportunity to take some other advanced courses. No, that's great. That's great. What do parents need to know when it comes to studying for these exams? I know that the studying can be overwhelming at times for some students.
Yeah, so the best way to do that prep is hopefully they're doing it in school, but students should be taking released AP exams and seeing how they're doing on those released exams. And then, if it's AP chemistry, seeing what topics did they miss, and then just making sure that they go to their teacher at school, or they learn those topics on their own, or they enlist the help of a good tutor who will actually help them learn those topics.
Fantastic. I always enjoyed our conversations early on, David, when we talked about the SAT and the ACT, because there's so much emphasis on that, although there have been some colleges that have kind of excluded that in their admissions process, or so they say. I've asked this question before, but I think it's an important question to ask again. When it comes to your students who are getting ready for college admissions, should they take the SAT or the ACT? Which one should they take, and why should they take it?
Yeah, so there has been a lot of confusion about it. And there are some schools that are test blind, meaning they won't even look at your SAT, ACT results, even if you send them. But that's only 6% of schools in the country. 88% of schools in the country are what's called test optional, which means they're inviting you to send your SAT and ACT scores because they still care about SAT and ACT scores. And so good scores will always help a student's chances of admission, more merit aid, and scholarships. So the tests really are still advantageous, and students should take a practice exam or potentially the real exam of either, because you can pick and choose which test dates you want to send into colleges. So there's no downside to taking the real test. But once you figure out which test is the best for you, you can just keep taking that until you hit your score goal. You want to finish by November 1st of your senior year, because that's when early application deadlines for early decision and early action deadlines are for most colleges. So for the SAT, students can still take the May, June, August, and October SATs. For the ACT, they can still take the June, July, September, and October tests. So plenty of opportunities.
Should students go into it with a goal? I know with my kids, and they're past this process now. We had a goal that 30 on the ACT. That was our goal. If you can get 30 or above, we will reward you with a financial stipend. But is that a good idea? I mean, I guess you really got to know your child and what motivates them to do well, right?
So that's a fantastic idea. And there's two ways to break that down. You can look up the schools that you're applying to, and a lot of them will just have a chart of if you get this score and have this GPA, which the GPA limits are much easier to hit. So basically, if you hit this SAT or ACT score, we're going to give you this much money per year, maybe $10,000, $15,000. So definitely look up on the school's websites, can I get money for a certain score? So that's for getting money. Then there's the admissions piece. And as far as setting a score goal for an admissions piece, I would look up all those schools again and look up their median SAT and ACT score. You want your SAT and ACT score to hit that or be above that for your scores to actually help you in admissions.
Let me ask you this. One of the last conversations we had, David, was about ChatGPT. And it's so interesting because right after we had that conversation, I saw it everywhere. Like everyone was talking about ChatGPT. So I like to say we're on the cutting edge here on the digital desk with you. How has that changed the test, if it has at all?
So speaking of the cutting edge, the last time we talked about it, it was version 3. Now, version 4 just came out a few weeks ago. It's changed everything again. And I should preface this with, I'm not encouraging students to do this because they shouldn't be doing this. But what students are doing now that version 4 is out is version 4 can almost perfectly copy the writing style of any writing that you put into it. So what students are doing is they're taking the essays of students who have been admitted to top colleges. They're inputting those essays and then saying, write my application essay in that style. And Johns Hopkins, for instance, on their website, which they should really remove, there's over 40 essays that worked. And so students can literally just put, I tried it out, and they can just put that into ChatGPT, say, write this essay for me, and in under a minute, they will get a top 1% essay. So if colleges don't adapt, they're really in trouble. They really need to do either proctored essays or interviews or do something to guarantee authentic content from their applicants.
That really sounds very scary and a big issue they need to address ASAP. You know, I would think, David, that they would kind of highlight it when it comes to, you know, the ACT or the SAT. Got to do the essay, of course, in person. But wow, for an application, I don't know how you make sure it's authentic.
I completely agree. And the SAT, unfortunately, actually discontinued its essay, and the ACT still has its essay, but no one needs to take it because colleges don't even look at it. So I really think that they need to rethink that, because right now they don't have any verified content from applicants. And to be honest, this was already a problem. I mean, you can Google, write my application essays for me, and there's a million firms that are out there to write your essays for you. Again, students should not do that, but it was always provided basically to the wealthy. The irony is ChatGPT has now allowed everyone to cheat. It's democratized cheating, which is wrong, but hopefully it will be enough to push colleges to actually fix the problem that already existed and is just much larger now.
Wow, interesting stuff. Very cutting edge as always, David. Thank you for that. What else can we talk about with regards to AP exams, SAT, ACT, that whole process that we haven't talked about already?
And one thing to put on people's radar is that next year, the SAT is changing from its current format from a 3-hour paper exam into a 2-hour digital exam. It's going to be adaptive. So it's actually a good change, but for any families who have a sophomore right now, they need to be aware that in the middle of their child's junior year, that SAT is going to completely change. So the current SAT is only going to be offered until December 2023. The next SAT that's offered is in March of 2024. Very different test. So students should not start prepping for the current SAT unless they know that they'll be done by December if they're going to be a junior next year, or they should take the ACT. So something to consider.
Dumb question. How does the 2-hour digital exam differ from what the exam is now?
It's a great question. So the math and grammar are basically the same, but it's the reading that's going to change. And instead of being, a long reading passage and then maybe 10 questions on that reading passage, students will only get one short passage and then one question on that short passage. So no more long passages. There's also just more reasoning questions and some actually cool questions. I actually think that they did a good job on the remake, but this first year of students will unfortunately be guinea pigs for the new test.
Yeah, that's wild. I always enjoy talking with you because you know what's coming and you know like where we are in terms of testing and maybe how to get an edge and what students and parents need to know about. Anything else you want to mention before we let you go, David? This has been great, very helpful.
Thank you. Just if families would like a vetted list of the best tutors, they can head to nationaltestprep.org, and we would be happy to, help you find the best tutors in your area.
Awesome, David Blobom. We really appreciate your expertise and your thoughts and all that valuable information you're sharing with so many people here in Memphis and across the Mid-South. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.
Happy Friday. I'm First Alert meteorologist Gay Galindo. Tracked some rain and storms last night, all thanks to a cold front. That front is now off to our east, and we're tracking yet another one that will move in this weekend. But no severe weather expected with the front that's going to move through on Saturday, but it could give us some showers at times. Right now, we are not seeing anything in the way of rain, but we are tracking some fog this morning. Fog should lift out right around 9 to 10 o'clock, and there could be a stray shower or two as we go into the afternoon, but I think most will stay dry. Mainly clouds more than anything. By 11 o'clock, cloudy skies and showers approaching from the west thanks to that cold front that's going to slide in by Saturday. Rain chances go up a bit for your Saturday, right around 40%. By Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're going to be tracking just some dry weather. Mostly cloudy for today. As I mentioned, a stray shower. 71 degrees for a high temperature. And while we were seeing clouds now, I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine as we head toward the latter part of the afternoon. Tonight, we drop down to 55 degrees. There could be a couple of showers late, but only about a 30% chance. Winds will be light out of the northeast. Here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. I know there are a lot of outdoor plans, but you'll want to have that plan B in place because we are looking at times where we could see some wet weather in the morning hours, and I think there could be around in the afternoon. It's all thanks to that front. Let me show you how things play out on our First Alert Futurecast. Right around midnight, cloudy skies, but as we put things into motion, notice showers starting to form in the portions of northeast Arkansas. Seeing some showers from Harrisburg to Marianna, and also a couple of showers in West Tennessee. As we make our way into the afternoon, those showers still west of the Mississippi River, but as we head around 2 o'clock, we start to see those tracking east of the river. Could be in the form of a few embedded thunderstorms, which some of those could produce some heavy rainfall. So right around 2 o'clock could be dealing with some heavy rain in Memphis and in Shelby County. Olive Branch could be seeing some of that, as well as on down toward Batesville and Oxford. But the good thing is this system is going to move out fairly quickly. By 4, it presses a little bit more toward the east. Now seeing showers from Bolivar to Holly Springs to Ripley, and then moving out as we head toward the evening hours. Clouds will linger for a time, but I think we'll pick up a good bit of sunshine late in the day on Sunday. Here's a look at how much rain we're expecting. We're looking at anywhere from about just less than a half of an inch to over a half of an inch, just a little bit over, but less than 3/4 of an inch for most areas. As we check out your 7-day forecast, you can see that rain chance on Saturday, but after that, here comes that nice dry stretch of weather. That cold front is going to drop temperatures into the upper 60s, but back in the 70s by Tuesday.
Well, only on 5, a former Mid-South church leader and Christian school administrator indicted for sex crimes against a minor. That 32-year-old allegedly groomed a student during the peak of the pandemic using a camera and the internet. Today, John Brownlow is scheduled, he was in court, faced a judge recently as the case against him serves a warning for parents everywhere. Well, Action News 5's investigator Jessica Jagalois has more.
The Action News 5 investigators have been watching John Brownlow's case move through a Shelby County courtroom since September. Good morning, Mr. Brownlow. When the 32-year-old former church leader and Christian school administrator pleaded not guilty to 7 felonies and 1 misdemeanor. John Brownlow is accused of persuading a male student to engage in sexual activity over the internet and for more than a year, allegedly recording that activity without the teen's knowledge. Brownlow's attorney, Leslie Ballin.
You pleaded not guilty on his behalf in court. Is your client innocent?
The allegations are indeed shocking. Does it mean it's accurate and true? Not for me to decide.
Who will decide that?
A jury. At the end of the day.
Ballin says he's seen the prosecution's evidence, and while he wouldn't go into details, says Brownlow's not guilty plea stands. Ballin does say the evidence he saw lines up with the contents of this 9-page criminal indictment, which states Brownlow allegedly exposed the boy to sexually explicit material, stalked, and spied on him. The alleged crimes occurred between June 2020 and January 2022. While Brownlow was an employee at the Christian K-12 school Westminster Academy on Ridgeway Road. A former bookkeeper at the school, he was promoted to chief financial officer in September 2021, according to this online post announcing the promotion, in which Westminster said Brownlow enjoyed, quote, playing board games and tackling tech projects. At the same time, according to this indictment, Brownlow was using technology to, quote, expose a minor to material containing sexual activity and to directly induce that minor to engage in sexual activity that Brownlow recorded using cameras in the teen's bedroom. The Action News 5 investigators corresponded with the alleged victim's parents via email. They, along with other parents aware of the allegations against Brownlow, trusted him around their children and are concerned there may be more alleged victims who were groomed by Brownlow who have not yet come forward.
We've heard the word grooming quite a bit in the media lately. Who grooms children?
Someone who has access to children. That could be, it could be teachers, it could be coaches, it could be family friends.
Alicia Bunch Vargas is the clinical director at the Sexual Assault Center in Nashville. She says grooming is any behavior done by an adult with the intention to gain a child's trust to do something sexual in nature with the child. According to RAINN, the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, most sex abuse victims are between 12 and 17 years old.
The way that adolescent brains are working, their development, they're trying to build relationships, establish relationships, and so any age child can be groomed.
Brownlow was the youth leader for St. Patrick Presbyterian Church in Collierville. Their senior minister said Brownlow left the church in 2019 and that when the church learned about the allegations against him at Westminster Academy, it immediately advised any victims to contact police.
In Tennessee, everyone is considered a mandatory reporter. That means if you suspect a child's life is in danger, you're required to report it to local law enforcement or the Department of Children's Services. If you don't, you could be held liable for that child's safety.
But Bunch Vargas says some places, like churches and schools, have a greater responsibility to report.
There is a certain level of responsibility whenever kids are in those environments for the adults in those environments to care for the kids. And part of that means if I hear something, if I see something, if I am aware of something, doing something about it.
Westminster's headmaster wrote in an email that they learned about the allegations when the crimes were reported in January 2022, and they contacted police, fired Brownlow, and banned him from their campus. Meanwhile, Brownlow is out on a $200,000 bond and is not allowed to contact the teen involved in this case. Ballin says Brownlow is working, not with children, but wouldn't say where. While the case continues to move in court, the alleged victim's family tells the investigators they are currently focused on trying to heal. For the investigators, I'm Jessica Jaglois.
Now, if you suspect a child is in a situation that warrants further investigation, please don't hesitate to call the Department of Children's Services. We have a link online to that reporting page where you can submit that information. You can also call police if you suspect something like that. We have a lot more resources for families. Just head over to our website. You can click on the story. You can find out more information there. Well, you're going to like this one here. Check out this reunion after last month's deadly storm in Wynne, Arkansas. This is Pumpkin, the cat, and they were waiting for the McNeelys when they returned to their home earlier this week. Pumpkin survived the storm, not without some minor beats and bangs, but the family was left speechless when the feline was waiting for them.
I was the one who knew it was Pumpkin. I on and told my daddy, and he was like, no way.
How cute is she? Well, the mother of the family said it was a community effort to bring Pumpkin back home. Neighbors would leave tuna and cat food outside to find the feline. And while it's a long road ahead for the McNeelys, having Pumpkin by their side is going to make things just a little bit easier. So as we continue our quest to find everything, people, places, and things that make the Mid-South great, we got another one for you. This week's 5-star story features the Go Ape zip line at the Shelby Farms Park. And I have not been to this. I don't know if you've been to it, but it looks like a lot of fun. And Kim Clark was able to take on the task.
If you can handle heights and heart-stopping rope courses in the trees, then Go Ape Zip Line at Adventure Park on North Pine Lake Drive at Shelby Farms is definitely for you.
It's pretty awesome.
Lauren Hansel is the assistant site manager, and although I'm no fan of heights, she helped me conquer my fears.
Language right after it, they're marked. Make sure it stays even on the back.
Then alert an instructor.
And you can go ahead and put that here.
I began with the Treetop Adventure, a 2 to 3 hour long trek featuring tree-to-tree crossings 36 feet high.
Ready? I don't know if I am. Here it goes.
And zip lines across a serene pine lake.
We have 5 zip lines that go back and forth across the lake right there. And it's one of the most amazing experiences that you can have out here.
I began with the big one.
You have to be at least 10 years old and 4'7" to complete that course.
Which is why many opt for a somewhat easier introduction to Go Ape.
Go Ape first came to Shelby Farms back in 2015, bringing outdoor fun for everyone. Like this treetop journey, which is supposed to be a beginner's rope course.
In 2021, though, we did open up Treetop Journey. That is the smaller course right here behind me. It is for all ages, and it's a set 1 hour activity to go through as many times within an hour as you can.
If you're more in favor of keeping your feet on the ground, the adventure doesn't stop.
We offer axe throwing that opened in 2020, and that's a 1 hour time period for you to throw axes for an hour straight. We opened up our mini golf course last year in 2022. That is 18 holes just through the park trails of mini golf. Some people have said this is one of the most challenging mini golf courses they've ever done. And last year we also opened up an outdoor escape room called Forest Escape, and that's for 1 hour. You're going to solve some puzzles, and you have that 1 hour to escape, essentially.
Whether you're looking for fun up in the air or firmly on the ground, Go Ape Zipline at Adventure Park amplifies the opportunities that await inside one of the largest urban parks in the country. Just one more reason we love calling this place home.
Go Ape is all about living life adventurously, so we want people to come out here and conquer their fears or just have a great time with their friends and family. We just are all about living life adventurously, really.
At Shelby Farms Park, I'm Kim Clark.
Looks like she had a good time there, mastering the Go Ape Park at Shelby Farms. And now this is one of 16 different locations across the U.S. And if you want to go, it's suggested that you go online and you make a reservation because there might not be a spot open. If you want to get some more details about it, you can head over to our website, actionnews5.com. Just click on the drop-down screen here, click on special reports, and it'll take you to all of our 5-star stories highlighting the great things about Memphis. And you can explore more of those stories. There's so many of them here on this page on our website. Good morning. It's Amanda Hansen here at the Action News 5 digital desk, and we have been talking all month long. It has been it's Donate Life Month, and this week specifically is Pediatric Transplant Week, and so we want to talk more about it, the need here in the Mid-South. And joining us now to talk more about it, we have Tiffany Street. She is a nurse and also heart transplant coordinator with the Heart Failure and Transplant team over at Le Bonheur, alongside Dr. Hugo Martinez, who is the Advanced Cardiac Therapies and Transplant Cardiologist Director for the Heart Institute at Le Bonheur Children's Hospital. Both of you, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for hosting.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have y'all on here because my dad at one point was on the transplant list, so this is something that's really near and dear to me to be able to get the word out. I know I'm an organ donor. I have it on my license, and so I guess let's start out by just talking about the need when it comes to children specifically. I know y'all focus on heart transplants. Tiffany, can you talk a little bit about the need here in the Mid-South?
Absolutely. So here at Le Bonheur, our pediatric heart transplant program evaluates referrals for children who have end-stage heart failure or congenital heart disease. And the patients that we serve typically aren't just from Memphis, but also Arkansas, North Mississippi, even the southern ends of Missouri, all of Western Tennessee. So those patients get referred to us from the region. As well as we have an abdominal, kidney, liver program as well. So we're supporting a large area, not just Shelby County.
Absolutely. And how big is that? Is there a number to put on there as far as like how many children are maybe waiting for this life-saving organ?
Absolutely. So if all pediatrics in the United States, there's about 2,029 children from ages infants all the way to 17 waiting on all organs. Specifically for hearts, you're looking at about 483 in the United States. We've had 32 candidates waitlisted since 2020. So, and we've performed about 28 transplants just in the last 3 years, just for our local community.
Oh, wow. Dr. Martinez, I want to talk with you a little bit about your role in all this. Obviously, you're working with a lot of families. Can you talk to me about what that's like, some of the stories that maybe you can share a little bit about?
Absolutely. So we have a center that specializes in advanced cardiac therapies, whether the patients are born with certain diseases that will require transplantation or patients who later in different ages and stages will require advanced cardiac therapies. And for some people, transplantation is the only pathway moving forward. So we're here to deliver the message of generating education and awareness that we require long times waiting for organs. So we would appreciate if our community sign up for organ donation, because that will promote life moving forward, as I mentioned, for many families.
Well, Dr. Martinez, I know you were mentioning wait times. How long is that normally when you talk about something like this when it comes to pediatric patients needing a heart?
It varies by age, but patients within the very first 3 years of life, the wait time can go somewhere around a few to a few months. So on average, we can say 6 to 8 months. And that is talking about the scarcity of organs, because we don't have it on the shelf.
Yeah, we had a situation when I worked in Jonesboro, Arkansas. There was a young man that needed a heart transplant, and he actually had a backpack that helped pump his heart for him. And he had to wait a long time to be able to get that transplant, that life-saving transplant that really changed his life. I want to talk with you, Tiffany. Obviously, this is something that is near and dear to you. Talk to me about what it's like for you to be able to be a part of this and helping to facilitate this process.
It's really an honor to be a part of our recipients' journey, from the beginning referral to, hearing their child has a diagnosis, whether that be an infant, a first grader, a teenager. So we become very involved with the family. We become very close, emotional support. It's an honor to walk with them in that journey. It's beyond words when someone's donated that gift, and to see these children thrive post-op, and the feedback that's given, that's back to the organ procurement organization, which is Mid-South Transplant for our community. They communicate back to the donor family the outcome, and the feedback is phenomenal about how moving that is, and how it helps them feel honored and grieve with the loss of their loved one. So it's just therapeutic on both sides, and it's an honor and beautiful to be a part of all of it. So it's great.
I can imagine. Dr. Martinez, I know you were mentioning as far as numbers and wait times and that sort of thing, it varies based on age. Are there any challenges when it comes to just different age, say whether it's a toddler or a teen? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Challenges come in both sides, and those patients and families waiting for organ donation, and those patients and families helping us to donate. And when it comes to organ donation in the pediatric population, size matters. We have to be very careful about accepting organs that are not too big, because they're not going to fit in the somebody's chest. And we have to be very careful about accepting an organ that is not going to be too small because it's not going to supply the adequate demands for a given patient. So wait times can be lengthy, and that is because we really are focusing on waiting for the right time, for the right moment, and for the right organ donation.
And as we mentioned, it's Pediatric Transplant Week. I want to speak and talk to each of you about what message you really want to leave people with. Dr. Martinez, would you like to start things off?
Absolutely. I think this week is an opportunity for us to promote education, an opportunity for us to, generate awareness. There is no limit to become an organ donor. So I would like to deliver the message to families to talk among themselves and amongst family members to say, if we would like to donate, there's really no limits. So minors can donate, and make sure your wishes are known about this situation.
Tiffany, what would you like to add to that?
I was going to say the same thing. I think just having that roundtable conversation at dinner with your parents, however old they may be, with your children if you're an adult, just to have those conversations. If you're very passionate about it, you can also sign up on when you go and get your driver's license at the county clerk's office, when you register to vote or get your new tags. You can go online, you can have the app. So there's plenty of ways to register, but it's, I think, too important to have those conversations with your loved ones.
Well, I appreciate both of y'all taking time this morning to share the message, get it out there about the need here in our area and surrounding areas. Y'all have a great rest of your morning, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you. You do the same.
Let's dive into the pages of La Prensa Latina, the latest edition now in newsstands for you to take a look at. Joining me now to talk more about it is Vivian Fernandez de Adamson, editor with La Prensa Latina. Good morning, Vivian. How you doing?
Hi, good morning. How are you, Amanda?
Doing really good. I'm excited for the weekend, so it's a good day when it's a Friday and when I'm talking to you. But this week's edition is something that is near and dear to us here in Memphis. Memphis in May, it's always a big celebration, so let's go ahead and dive right in.
Yes, and we're very happy that, finally is going back to the Tomley Park, which is the original place for Memphis in May. So it is just amazing. And then this year they are honoring a different country like usual. And this time it's going to be Malaysia. So it's a wonderful country in Asia, in Southeast Asia. So, just to know a little bit about this country, Malaysia is the wealthiest country, one of the wealthiest countries in the region, generating a GDP of $902.6 billion. So, it has an industry, that it primarily exports, including electronics, chemicals, semiconductor chips, natural rubber, palm oil, and petroleum. And, just for your information as well, Tennessee received $1.85 billion in imports from Malaysia and exported $147 million in products to the country in 2021. This is according to Memphis in May. So, this is just, very useful information for everybody. It's just education as well. So we all know that Memphis in May, it's not only, to celebrate all things here in Memphis, the culture, the art, everything here, but also, to educate our community and also to educate other people in the world about, what we have here in Memphis and other countries as well. So, and not only that, we also are going to have, the iconic festivals like the Beale Street Music Festival, the Barbecue Festival, and also the Run, the marathon. So the Great American River Run, So it is going to be a wonderful, it's going to be a very, very good month for everybody here to enjoy.
Oh, yeah. And I love the insight in Malaysia. I think it's great that, like you said, it's a good way to educate people about just other parts of the world. And it's a month-long festival. I remember going, growing up, and it seemed like, hopefully it's not this way this year, but it seemed like every time I would go, it would rain. And so, it, it Music Fest became Mud Fest and all that. But it is a lot of fun. Are you planning to go to any of the events they have this month or the upcoming month?
I might go to the barbecue cooking contest. I'm not sure about the music fest again, because like you said, I call it Mud Fest too because it rains most of the time. So I'm not sure. I might go. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I know it's going to be fun. There's going to be, amazing groups there, like the Lumineers, for instance, very important groups, like Greta Van Fleet, Robert Plant and Alison Cross, Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, they're going to have amazing groups this time, like always. So I might be able to go, I don't know, but it's going to be fun, for everybody, especially for the youth, to go and celebrate and have fun all together.
Oh yeah, and like you said, I love the Lumineers. Also Glorilla, Native Memphian, going to be in the lineup this year. So it's always a lot of fun. I mean, they never disappoint. Memphis is able to bring in that talent and all those different artists. And so it's just, Memphis in May, it's one of my favorite times of the year. It's kind of the start of summer and enjoying some time outside. So hopefully you're able to make it out to one of them. Barbecue Fest maybe. I mean, who doesn't love good barbecue, right?
Right.
So good stuff. Yeah.
And I know Mother to see the new park too, the renovated park. So that's going to be, something. It's going to be a plus.
Yeah, I think everybody missed the fact that it wasn't there last year, and so yeah, I'm glad. I want to go check out the updates and everything too, because it looks great. I've seen video, but of course I want to go see it in person. And you can read all of this now in the latest edition of La Prensa Latina in newsstands now. You can also head over to laprensalatina.com. And that'll do it for us here at the Action News 5 Digital Desk. We have midday coming up at the top of the hour. Hope you have a great rest of your day and an even better weekend. We'll see you back here Monday morning.